So, like, we're just doing Game of the Year, Wrong Button Game of the Year 2019. We're not fucking with that at all.
I think
we're not gonna chop and screw it like a couple fucking jokers.
I think as this is our 11th, we're at the beginning of our 11th year of this. I think it's time for us to grow up. Yeah,
it's time. Yeah, we're getting serious about video games.
Yeah, definitely. And this is being recorded, right? So
yeah,
we can do. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Ten concurrent viewers. Hello, concurrent viewers.
Oh, hi, concurrent viewers.
Hey, non-concurrent viewers. Fuck off,
please. Get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here, please.
Get the fuck out of here. Let's see. Holy crap.
What is it?
At 2:13, I said that we will hopefully start in 90 minutes to 2 hours. And that was 2 hours and 9 minutes ago. That's practically early by Run Button standards.
Yeah, 9 minutes late. That's like an hour early.
Yeah, that's like we got up at the crack of dawn for you folks. So we're started this. I started.
Yeah, you can start. You did.
Yeah, you did last year.
Did I do last year?
You did last year.
Okay. How did I do?
You did fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll do fine.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I don't need encouragement from you.
Well, then I'm not sure of anything.
I've done this 10 times now.
9 times.
Well, we'll get into it. Welcome, everybody, to... Well, okay, hang on. Welcome...
hard to watch.
Oh, no. I will explain in a second. Welcome, everybody, to the Run Button 2019 Game of the Year Spectacular, where we tell you what games we played in 2019 and which ones were our favorites. But here's the thing: so for the past couple years, I've been saying how many annual Games of the Years we have been doing.
Yeah,
and I think last year I said it was the 9th annual, and the year before that I said 8th. Mm-hmm. But the thing was, I realized I had been counting wrong. And so I was going to be like, ooh, it's the 10th game of the year. Here we are. Number 10. Last year was the 10th. This one's the 11th. Because we started Run Button in November and then did Game of the Year like immediately. So Game of the Year
is... we did 2 episodes of a brand new podcast and then did a Game of the Year podcast.
We did more than that. But yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But I mean, whatever.
Yeah,
That's
whatever.
not... I don't... It was the end of the year. What were we going to do? And 2009, that was a good-ass year. It was like Modern Warfare 2, Forza 3, Red Faction Guerrilla, Halo ODST.
Oh, yeah, Red Faction Guerrilla.
Get the fuck out of here. Red Faction Guerrilla was good.
Never forget.
It was on my... I just remember it was on my list. Infamous. Damn. The game Infamous. Not like Red Faction Guerrilla is infamous.
Right, yeah.
The game Infamous. So welcome to the 11th annual Run Button Game of the Year.
What a series that just sputtered into nothing.
Red Faction.
No, Infamous.
Infamous. Oh, boy.
I mean, I feel like you loved the first one, and then you sort of liked the second one. Yeah. I heard the third one was kind of racist, and then I never liked any of them, and then they just kind of disappeared.
Yeah. I don't want to spend any time talking about it, but that's basically it. I thought the first one is fantastic. A number of notable problems that I had with the second one that retroactively kind of ruined parts of the things I liked so much about the first one, and then the third one I only got a few hours in.
Yeah.
I was like, meh.
Red Faction, not surprised it sputtered into nothing because nobody played it.
Well, I am surprised because Red Faction Guerrilla, not a perfect game, but a very good game.
People loved it.
A game that desperately needed the refinement of a sequel, and then they just took it in a totally different direction that was even worse, and then they did that again for the second one. Like, they did Armageddon, which was like a corridor shooter, which didn't play into any of the environmental destruction stuff they had. Like, it still had that system, but it was like there was nothing to do with it because you were underground.
Yeah.
I didn't even play it. Anyways.
Bummer.
Games that came out in 2019. We're recording this in 2020. This is still like the earliest we've done Game of the Year in like years.
Yeah. We meant to do it, but I got...
We meant to do it like 3 weeks ago, and it kept getting pushed back.
Yeah, you might be able to hear I was sick.
But see, that's the thing, though. If we had planned to do it the first week of January, imagine how far it would have gotten pushed back.
So what's the structure of this time?
It was the same structure as always.
Okay, well, what is that for the listeners?
And well, I mean, you say that it's for the listeners, but I know that every year you forget what our format is.
I will explain the format.
Go ahead.
We will argue about who goes first or second.
Okay, yep.
Maybe a little bit, and we will go through our list, and then the other person will go through their list, and then we will fight about a combined list together.
No.
No?
What will happen is we'll decide who goes first. We're not going to argue. We're going to decide who goes first. Because you know, this is the beginning of the 11th year of Run Button, where we're older and more mature now. We're not gonna fight, mostly just because we just don't give a shit anymore. Like, why would we fight over who goes first? Who cares? And we say our list, and then you know, I think was bared out. It was barded out last year. I don't think there's going to be much argument with combining the two lists into a single list, because I think we're just going to go like, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, last year it was really easy.
Last year we like put a list together and we squabbled over like very petty like a couple placement things, but other than that it was just like, yeah, it's a list, done.
Yeah. I'm curious about how much overlap there is. I kind of don't think there will be much.
No.
Maybe a couple things.
You go first?
I'll go first. Yeah, sure. I have a couple honorable mentions.
What?
Yeah.
Ooh. Could I say? Because I listened. What I usually do every year is I'll listen to the previous year's Game of the Year podcast for some reason, just to kind of like you know, look back on it. How was that? I removed a year later. How was it? Get kind of get in the Game of the Year.
See how close you got.
Get in the Game of the Year mindset, kind of whatevers. And I remember, whatever.
What do you remember?
What happens is every year I have like some honorable mentions, and you're like, this fucking rule breaker. It's it's not a top 13 list. You're trying to sneak in these extra games.
No. I want to be clear. These games are not on my top 10 for a reason, but they're games that I played enough of and have some things to say about.
I know.
In an end of the year context.
Well, that's the thing is, this year, you were like, whoa, I have so many games I want to put on my list this year. Usually I'm struggling to fill out 10 games. And then I'm like, this fucking hypocrite. It never had to do with me not being able to cut my honorable mentions. It was just the fact that you never had any honorable mentions. That was the thing.
I've had honorable mentions.
All right. Honorably.
Every few years I have some honorable mentions.
Honorably mention some games, please.
Okay, so I want to start with Apex Legends.
Yeah.
Honorable mention, Apex Legends. I played a lot of that game, and because I had friends I played with, my cousin Ted. I played with my friends Natan and Brett. We went back, you know. I feel like I was playing it.
I guess we played it.
We played it a little bit, but I feel like I went back. I was playing that pretty regularly for like 6 months, and then kind of sparsely for another few months. Like, I kind of played this game off and on all year. And the thing that ended up happening was, like, for as much as I loved it at the beginning, the more I played it, I started to realize, like, well, the thing that I like is running around and picking up guns. But I really didn't end up liking the actual fighting part of that game.
I was never good at it.
I was also never good at it, and that's part of it. I don't like first-person shooters that I'm not good at because I tend to be good at them. But I played this for so long that, like, you'd think I would have either gotten the hang of it or gotten over not being good at it. But, like, yeah, I just couldn't. I just was like, yeah, I just want to pick up the good gun and run around for a bit.
Yeah.
I don't actually want to shoot people.
For me, it was funny on the previous Game of the Year podcast, because we record it so late, I jokingly pegged Apex Legends as like this year's number 2 game, because we're like, we're just going to skip to next year, so congratulations Resident Evil 2, it's Game of the Year, and Apex Legends was a strong number 2. I'm actually surprised I didn't put it on my list either. I was really into it for like the first month, and then I kind of like got away from it, and I always kept thinking like, I gotta get back and play more Apex Legends. But then when it came time to like start putting together my list of like what's definitely on the list, what's a maybe, what haven't I played that I really need to play or get back to, and it was like I just had so much stuff that it was just like I don't even care.
I
like
even
I'm
have
not
a few
gonna
things that I regret not having played yet. Control is one of those.
Yeah, Control I bounced off of, and I would like to put more time into it, but I was just like
But so like if you had asked me 6 months ago if Apex would be on my list, it probably would have been in the top 5. It's just like at some point it clicked that like the least fun part of it is the gunplay. And then I went back, I played some Titanfall 2 multiplayer, and I was like, this is so much more fun.
Yeah,
unbelievably more fun. It's like they just took a much better game and made it the popular shape.
Well, I can't even hold it against Apex Legends for not being as fun as Titanfall 2, because like Titanfall 2 is so fucking good.
Yeah, but it put into stark relief like what was wrong with the game, and it was the shooting part of it, which like hasn't been true of other battle royale games.
Yeah, for me it's been so long since I played Apex Legends, I can't even really peg what it is that I don't like about it, other than I just suck at it. Like that's really like what the thing I don't like about it is. I'm not good at it.
I don't even suck at it. I'm like consistently 5th place, which is good. That's good. But I've played hundreds of matches. I won one ever. One.
Yeah.
But I came in 5th place like, 40 times, 50 times. I'm pretty good.
I think I might have won twice. It was either once or twice, but regardless of once or twice, one of those times was like totally had nothing to do with me. It was like I just had like a ringer on my team that was incredible.
Yeah. I luckily did not have that experience. It was me and a friend and a rando, and we kind of all did okay. And it was fun. I really enjoyed winning my first ever battle royale. Not just this, a PUBG 2 and Fortnite, which I've only played like 2 rounds of ever, but like it was my first win in any battle royale game. And I'm a person who's good at shooters, who generally performs well in these games, but just like can't get that number 1 or number 2 slot ever.
A couple months ago, I watched like a Ninja Fortnite stream for like half an hour,
trying to catch up.
I don't remember why, but just like as I was doing it, I realized like, oh, I've never seen Fortnite Battle Royale. Like, I've seen screenshots, and I played Fortnite before it had the Battle Royale. I had never even seen the Battle Royale, so I was just like, yeah, let's just see what this is. And I was like, yeah, it looks fun. What I didn't realize, I didn't know at all about the dynamic of where, like, you have to wait for the structure to build, and then other people can damage they can, like, deconstruct it as it's trying to build itself, which is really interesting.
I didn't like it, and I'm someone that liked the pre-Battle Royale Fortnite quite a bit. It was just a very bland thing to spend time doing, in a good way.
And you love that. Sorry, I forgot. I'm Kylie Churchill, you're Keith Carberry.
Oh, yeah, hi.
I mean, whatever, you know that.
And the other thing about Apex was that when the first Battle Pass came out, I bought it to be like, well, it was a free game, let me buy it.
Oh, I heard real bad things about that.
Yeah, it was super bad.
They had to fix it 3 times, and it still wasn't that great.
Yeah, so I feel like I kind of wasted like $25. Yeah. And then the next one was like, we fixed it, and I was like, well, I already bought the one that I was gonna buy.
Right.
And I already wasn't playing it enough to justify getting a new one.
Though at some point, I don't think either of us are really Battle Pass people.
No, but I wanted to give.
You have this beeping thing. Can you make it not beep? Or?
I can make it beep only intermittently. Hey, someone was scared of the butane.
Can't turn it off?
Okay. I mean, Not if I want to have hot tea.
You already have hot tea.
I had to I reheated it back up.
All right, well...
It's fine, it will beep.
Sorry, everybody. Keith needs a beeping tea kettle.
It's not my fault.
I mean, it is your fault that it is beeping.
If I could make it not beep, I would. I might be able to get in there or something with a...
Guys, it's out of his hands. The kettle beeps. What else can you do?
Get over it.
When you have a beeping tea kettle, there's literally no way to record a podcast without it beeping. We have
spent more time focusing on the beeping than there will be beeping the entire 5 hours of the show already.
Untrue. I'll real quick before we get off Apex Legends.
Yeah.
Total credit to them for really good improvements for like random, because it's a team-based game, and so that means unless you're playing with friends, you're going to be playing with randos. So they did a lot of great like the pinging system, so that you could tag weapons and equipment that you find for other people on your team to see them, like great ways to communicate without actually having to use a microphone.
Tagging enemies, tagging where you're going, tagging where you're looking, where you think there might be people.
Yeah, there's so much. It's tagging where you think there might be people. That's great.
The powers are super fun. The team dynamics are really interesting.
Yeah, the characters are pretty good, and the Flight Master is just like the best. I think that's probably an even better idea than the tagging stuff.
Flight Master?
Just that the fact that like instead of everyone jumping out of the plane and having complete control over where you fly, it's just the Flight Master, Jump Master.
Okay.
Just the Jump Master is in control of all three.
Yeah.
And you move as a group, which is a great innovation.
And towards the end, you can unhook from them and like go somewhere else in that same area.
Or you can unhook immediately.
Sure.
It's just great that like
that's a stupid thing to do.
It's just great that like if you're just in a pickup game with random people and you're not talking, like you don't have to try to like look where they're going or try to coordinate it all. It's just like I'm just gonna sit back and wherever they want to go, it's fine.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a game that I had a lot of fun with, but I realized after 6 months of playing it that I really wasn't having fun shooting and getting shot at anymore. I just kind of wanted to run around the map. That's really fun to run around in.
But
especially as Pathfinder.
I'm really glad. I'm honestly like genuinely glad that Respawn is getting theirs.
Sure. They had another game come out this year that I didn't really like very much.
Oh, Jedi Fallen Order?
Yeah. Doesn't even not even an honorable mention for that.
That's one of my honorable mentions. You have Sekiro on your list?
Yeah, I sure do.
Well, I'll touch on Jedi Fallen Order when we get to Sekiro.
Okay.
But I'll say this: we'll probably get a Titanfall 3 because of Apex Legends.
Yeah, and that's why I bought that shitty battle pass.
Yeah,
that's like part of why I did that. Another one, Crackdown 3. Here's the thing about Crackdown.
I tried it for an hour. Don't honorably mention this.
It is still
dishonorable
so
mention.
Fun to jump around and do the jump around thing, and they brought the orbs back.
I can't even look at him. I can't even look at him right now.
Here's what the honorable mention is for. The guns are still fun to shoot. It's like a stupid fun arcadey shooter where you can jump super high and throw stuff. But like, just have a more interesting dressing to it.
This game was in development for years.
And I'm sure there was a lot of things that were cut and redone.
It had a troubled development for sure. So, but like, it actually feels very 2019 Microsoft to put that game out in the state that they put it out.
Yeah,
like like everything about the moves Microsoft is making seems like they're really taking the long game, and they're really not afraid to invest a lot of money in that long game.
Mm-hmm.
But give it another year.
Yeah. I don't know that another year would have fixed that.
Yeah, I guess it...
But honestly, if they had just wrapped, literally changed nothing but the fucking words that they were saying, just like wrap it in a story that is even 20% more interesting.
Yeah, that was a pretty it was so uninteresting, I can't remember what the story was.
Go to an island where there's a bad person and you have to kill all their generals.
I hate those bad people.
Yeah.
Do those bad people have guns?
Oh, tons.
Well, we know the only thing that can get rid of a bad guy with guns.
But I still really like the jumping around and stuff in that game. It's so much fun to jump around. It reminds me of, like, you know, Saints Row 4 came out a few years ago. Yeah, probably forever ago at this point.
And it was better than Crackdown 1, 2, or 3.
They didn't get the jumping. Like, the jumping felt so wrong.
It wasn't all the way there. But I never felt like... The jumping in Crackdown is fun. I never thought the traversal in Crackdown was great. I thought it was great for a B-tier game in 2007.
Well, and then the other thing that the original Crackdown did was, like... It asked you to climb things that really didn't seem like meant to be climbed. Like, there wasn't really a climbing mechanic. There was a grabbing mechanic and a lot of jumping.
Yeah,
that was fun in, like, a puzzly sort of, like...
Yeah, it was fun because it didn't do what many games now do, where it's like extremely magnetized, extremely pre-baked climbing sections. Instead, it was just like we've tagged every ledge in this game as a ledge, and your character has an ability that it grabs onto ledges, and that was basically it.
Yeah, and so I really like that, and then Crackdown 3 has some of that. I don't know, I just like, I want to put it on my list because I want to be like, I just want them to make a good one of these again, finally.
And can I give you some bad news?
Yeah, it's
not gonna fucking happen.
But
yeah, that is the real super disappointing thing about Crackdown 3 was this was their last chance.
Yeah.
Because based on the response and sales of Crackdown 2, no one in their right mind would have ever made a Crackdown 3. So the fact that they were doing it at all was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
So.
And I liked Crackdown 2 also. It just was worse. I think Crackdown 3 is better than Crackdown 2.
I think I finally figured out how to like Crackdown 2 like last year or something.
Flight suit.
I think I just barely got to the flight suit before I stopped playing.
Okay, here's a couple that real quick are ones that I don't have much qualifiers on. Those are games that I liked but were disappointed in. Here are just some that I liked.
This is a seismic amount of honorable mentions by Keith's standards.
Okay.
Because, like...
Slay the Spire. We'll go real quick. Slay the Spire.
No. Wait, I'll just say, if you only have 2 more... Take as much time as you want. It's fine. But I just want you to know, from my perspective, when I do my game of the year, I am literally speaking as quickly as I can because you're berating me about it the whole time it's happening.
I thought that this was, new year, new run button. We're austere, we're noble, we're nice, we're understanding, we're wise and kind.
I thought the wiseness and the kindness... I just thought it would feel better.
Did you play Slay the Spire?
I did.
What did you think? Do you like it?
Yeah, it was fun. Like, it didn't blow me away, but I was just like, yeah, good game.
I kind of feel there. I played a couple games in the last month and a half to be like, well, let me play a couple smaller things to be like, maybe I want to put these on my list. Maybe I'll just have a good time with these. I played Baba Is You. Baba Is You's fun. It's not my sort of thing, but I had a really good time with it.
I wanted to like that game so much, but I agree with everyone on the planet. I have the same opinion, which is that game, I occasionally feel like a genius when I solve a puzzle, but most of the time it just makes me feel so stupid.
I didn't get a lot of that, the stupid feeling. Not that I didn't get stuck a bunch. I also didn't play. I only played 3 worlds. But it just didn't grab me. It didn't make me it's a fun. It was I don't have nothing to do. Maybe I'll play a couple of minutes of Bobby's. But that's not what this is about. It's about Slay the Spire, which is something that I really enjoyed. Played 8 or 10 hours of it in the last couple of weeks.
Sorry. Keith, help me with my phone. Why can't I find the chat? I'm trying to find the chat.
Yeah,
seriously though, where's the chat? Is it... Wait.
There's a little button. A chat button.
There's a chat button?
Yeah.
Someone in the chat, let me know how to see the chat.
You keep gesturing like you're going to show me your screen and then not actually showing it to me. Give me.
All right.
Give to me.
I don't like... It's not there. How did you do?
Well, you were in the browser, and so I pressed the button that opened it in the app.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sneaky Mission in the chat says press the chat button. Thank you. Appreciate it.
There is a button. There is a chat button.
Only in the app, though.
Yeah, only in the app. Why were you not in the app anyway?
Well, because there was no way to get the link in the app because it's a private stream, so I had to go to Patreon, copy the link. I had to open the link from Patreon, and that opens it in the Patreon app. Then I had to click the open this link in Safari button, and then we had to click on the open it in the YouTube.
I've shown you 1,000,000 times. There's a source button right here on the remote. You point it at the TV, you hit source one time. Okay, Slay the Spire. It combines two things. Are you still reeling?
I'm remembering, because I know what you're doing, but I was thinking of it more in like a general universal way. Like, we all know that nobody besides gamers know how to work the inputs on your TV. But then I remembered specifically your mom would like unplug things from the TV because she's
trying to figure out how to switch it back from where the Xbox was or from like the DVD player back to the TV. It would just like totally dismantle everything.
I recently was caused a lot of emotional distress for a few days because I got into this thing with my landlord where like the internet in my house is terrible, but recently it's been it got totally fine for a long time, and then it started getting really bad again recently. And so I have an Ethernet cable.
I don't think I knew that.
I have an Ethernet cable that runs down the stairs to my router. And like my landlord has started like unplugging the the Ethernet cable because she's like my TV, my Amazon Fire Stick won't connect to the Wi-Fi because like your cable is kicking me off the Wi-Fi, and I was just like,
There is nothing that makes me more angry than people that don't know how computers and technology work. Getting an idea in their head and being just so convinced that it's real when it's like
that's what's so crazy. It's like, I'm the tech I understand getting a false idea, but when the person who knows how this shit works, comes to you and just goes, no, that's not right. That's not how it works. How do you not believe? Like, if I said to a mechanic, this is what I think is wrong with my car, and they said, no, this other thing is what's wrong, I wouldn't be like, nah, I'm pretty sure I was right.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
what I said.
I'm pretty sure the idea I invented in my head is what's actually wrong with my car. Trained mechanic. Thank you.
People are just so superstitious. People that don't know about computers are so superstitious about computers. Yeah. It drives me crazy. Yeah. It's so annoying. Anyway, Slay the Spire.
It's a deck building roguelike game.
It's a deck building roguelike game. The thing that I really like about it is that I'm not good at deck building games in the like Hearthstone arena sense, where it's like, here's 3 cards, pick one of these 3 cards, and you're building this deck.
That's slightly different. That's not deck building, that's drafting.
It's drafting, but this is a deck building drafting game, because after you beat a monster, they do give you 3 cards, and you can choose one to draft from. But it's also, it's like half that, and it's like half Ascension. It's like both of those things together. And Ascension I really like, and I'm good at, and Hearthstone drafting I'm bad at, but I think is interesting. And so it combines them in a way and dresses them up in this fun roguelike where I don't have to pay money to lose gold in Hearthstone or whatever.
Well, I've been hearing that you're playing Hearthstone for free, for 0 money. Best value.
I stopped doing that.
It's the best value.
It is best value. That was a great series. I wish that Blizzard didn't get a bunch of bad press for being total assholes.
Right, yeah.
And then I kind of was like, I don't want to play this anymore.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. And it was like specifically Hearthstone that they were being shitty about too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I tried to look for another deck building game that I could maybe do the same series with, or another free to play game. I haven't landed on anything yet, but who knows? We'll see.
We should just play the mobile version of Ascension forever.
Yeah, I actually did. I downloaded it recently. I've been playing it.
It's really good.
I played Dominion with some friends recently.
Oh yeah, I've never played that.
It is fun. It's different, because there's more decks, but it doesn't change like underneath. Like it's a whole deck of the same kind of card. So you get
so you're just
like 12 decks, and you have to build your entire deck
so it's like 12. You basically just have 12 piles
cards.
of 12 different cards.
Yes.
In you.
Yeah. Which I was surprised by because I also had never played Dominion until this. It was fun. It was interesting. I liked it. Cool. I ended up liking Dominion quite a bit.
I don't remember if the Ascension app is different or not, because I remember like a couple years ago I got into the app.
It's free, but it sucks. It's a shitty app.
Do you pay anything?
Free. Well, the first like one deck is free. You can buy other decks to play with.
Okay. Because I think that must be the second version of the app. Because like the old one, the thing that they did was they were like, oh, all the expansions are free now because we're sunsetting this version of the app and we're rebuilding it. But then they like never did that. Yeah. I think it just got like massively delayed. But
Hollow Knight Void Heart Edition.
Oh, yeah?
That's on my honorable mentions. That game is tremendously good.
It's pretty good.
I really loved it. So I played...
I didn't click with it like other people did, but I definitely enjoyed it.
I didn't beat it because it turns out it's really fucking long. It's super long. And I started getting to the point where it was getting really hard. And so...
You mean immediately? So you didn't play this game. You played this game for 5 minutes and stopped.
I played this game for like 20-something hours, I think.
I'm just kidding.
It was getting really hard.
It's just a joke about how hard the game is.
It is a pretty hard game.
You were like, it was getting hard, and I was like, oh, so the beginning, the very start of it.
I follow you.
Thank you.
I don't think it was that hard at the beginning.
I don't remember.
It wasn't so bad. It did get pretty bad, but it wasn't so bad. But I don't have a lot to say about this game. Real original Hollow Knight came out a really long time ago, and it was something that I saw, and I was like, this looks like a version of a Souls thing, because at the time I didn't click with any of the Souls games. I was like, this looks like a thing that's taking cues from Souls games that I might be able to get into. And I just put it off and put it off and put it off and put it off. And then it was on Games Pass, and I was like, this is probably my time to try it.
Yeah.
And I played it, and I just really fucking liked it a lot.
Cool.
So,
I thought the map system... It was interesting. I don't think that he really nailed
pieces
it.
Of the map.
Having to find like what was interesting was having to do without a map in new areas that you hadn't gotten the map for. But I don't think their method of unlocking the map, which is just like finding the map maker in that area and like listening for his like hums or whatever. I don't know that really.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was like. It was a really consistent way to get the map. Like, it wasn't like, I guess they could have done a thing where every map you got it in a new way. And that might have been interesting. But I liked, every area you go to varying levels of difficulty, there is a guy that will give you the map for some money. And I like that.
It was tough for me just because I really like in a game that's about dying a lot, I really like when there's some amount of permanent progress. And it was kind of a bummer that it'd be like I'd go into a new area, not find the map maker, and like, explore a bunch, but then die. And it's like, well, now it's kind of like I didn't really make any progress because I don't have a map of what I explored. So I kind of just have to keep looking for the map maker.
That's true. I didn't find, with a few pretty major exceptions, I didn't find the map maker to be too difficult to get to most of the time. I didn't die a lot before I found a map.
That's Hollow Knight's on my list of like games I want to get back to, but the list of games I want to get back to is 1,000 games long.
Yeah,
so
it's
like
too long.
unless they invent a way to freeze time, I'll probably never.
So those are my honorable mentions. Do you want to do your list since I just spent time doing 4 games? We can just keep going with me. It's fine.
Nah, let's go with you.
Okay. Number 10 is Untitled Goose Game.
Huh.
Yeah. I was not sure whether this was going to end up on my list because it made such a splash. Like, I feel like everybody gets such a known quantity.
You felt like you might not feel okay putting it on your list because too many people liked it. No, that's not really it. It's just like, there's a lot of games that I wanted to put on my list,
and this game was so recently everywhere.
So you just felt like
it just felt overexposed a little bit, but I put it on the list. So.
To explain what you're saying to the listener, if they might be listening, going, "The fuck's he talking about?" It's like when you put a game on your Game of the Year list, there's a number of different factors you're weighing about, like, because you can only pick 10.
Yeah.
And we play a lot of games, so it's hard to pick 10.
Unless you pick 14 and call 4 of them honorable mentions.
Yeah. You might be thinking, okay, maybe I didn't like this as much as some other games, but nobody knows about this game, nobody played it, and I really want to champion this game, so I'll put it on the list, even though I might not have liked it quite as much.
The ultimate... maybe also comedy joke version of this would be Arctic Alive.
Yeah.
Which I stand by. One of my favorite things that I played 2 years ago at this point. It was 2017. But yeah, so... But the thing is that I felt like my favorite part of Untitled Goose Game got sort of... didn't get enough airtime because there was a lot of like look at this funny goose honking, and then there was a lot of like this is secretly a stealth game. But the thing that I liked most about this game was the conceptually a goose having ideas and then executing on those ideas.
Yeah, a goose having... So all geese have a sort of generalized, non-specific, undirected malice at all things.
True.
But this is a
If I could separate it from the goose.
Okay.
Have you seen the video of the crow that uses a bottle cap to sled down a roof?
No.
It's amazing.
Crows are the
best.
shit.
I love crows.
Crows are the shit.
But this is animals having ideas.
Corvids. I'm all about corvids now.
Yeah. Sometimes my cat, we got.
Sorry, real quick. Did you see the tweet? It was from like last year or something. The person, like the crows, like made them like twigs pulled through soda tabs. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh,
like
I love that.
The metal tabs on a soda can. They took 2 of them and then took a little branch of a pine tree and pulled it halfway through, so it's just like a little pine branch with pine needles stuck through a soda can tab, left 2 of those identical things for the people because the people would feed them. Like they just leave food out for their crows. The crows brought them those as gifts 2 days in a row. Yeah. They brought it to him once, and the next day was like, we're going to give him another pine stick through a soda tab.
So great. I love that. Dope.
This person was like, it's not just generous, it is art. Like, this is crow art. And they're right, though. It's amazing.
Yeah, it totally is. The cat version of this, not quite as artistic. Oscar brought me a live mouse the other day. He woke us up. He meowed. I looked down.
You would love this.
He was like,
excuse me. Keith, wake up. You're going to love this shit.
I haven't seen you hunting very much recently.
I can tell you've been a little bit down.
Yeah.
You've been staying in the house a lot.
He brought a live mouse. He presented it on a paper towel, not a paper towel, a little cloth, and he put it in front in the bed.
He put it on a little cloth?
Put it on a little cloth.
He put what?
Yeah, he put it on a little cloth.
Where did he get the cloth?
It was on the floor already, but he put it on the cloth. He didn't put it
Did he move the cloth?
Yeah, he did a little bit. He pawed at it. Yeah. And it's like animals having ideas, executing on ideas.
Yes.
This is a game where you get to play a goose. Like, did you finish the game?
No.
The end of the game sort of...
Oh, I did get the ending spoiled for me, so I know what the
end of the game doesn't quite allow for my reading of the game at the time, but it was just like stimulus reaction. See a boy, push him over.
Yeah, right.
see a harmonica, take it, play it. Trying to embody a goose making a good time for itself was really, really fun.
Right.
And I don't think that got enough play.
I think
when this game was sort of blowing up.
for me, Goose Game, loved the aesthetic, loved that goose. The fucking waddle on that goose. This is the most lovingly, wonderfully rendered goose in a video game to date. Like, they fucking nailed it. It's so good.
They totally nailed it.
Love that you can just spread your wings like geese do.
Yeah.
Just like geese hold up their wings when they're mad at you, and you could just do that if you want.
They do it to scare you. I'm big.
And
sounds like a butt though.
And and I think I saw Austin tweet something like fucking Untitled Goose Game is like a Hitman game or something, and I feel like that
he wrote a piece on that, which was good, and I think is a little bit true too.
It way oversold me on the game for me or whatever. Like, I want to love that game. It's just too many of your objectives were like really tedious. Like when you would have those things where it was like collect 10 things in one place, and so you'd be like, have to go get one thing, bring it over, get the next thing, bring it over. Oops, the human of that area found your stash, and now they're taking all the items. Now you got to go back and get it again.
I think
it was like a lot of fussing.
There was a handful of things on the to-do list that were a little bit too much. There were some that were more elaborate that were fine because they weren't tedious, even though they were more elaborate. But yeah, the like picnic one.
It's specifically it's how easy it is for you to backslide in your progress toward an objective that really killed it for me.
But I think in that way is like Hitman. I think Hitman does do that. It's very easy to fuck yourself up by. The difference is that like you might get shot at, or they might try to arrest you, or you might die. And in this game, it's just like the gardener takes the sandwich and puts it back on the table.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, also have never.
I love a goose that saunters into a town square, sees a young boy playing with a toy, and just decides on sight to make it his personal mission to make that boy's life a living hell.
And the other thing is, you don't actually have to do everything on that to-do list.
No, you don't. Like, I think you have to do like all but one, and it doesn't matter which one.
Yeah, and also like, I think that doing things that are not on the to-do list is just as important as doing the things that are on the to-do list. Like, it shouldn't just be about the to-do list. The to-do list is how you beat the game, but like.
Well, I mean, I think a to-do list, if you're playing Fire Emblem Three Houses, would be a completely different thing. But if you're playing Untitled Goose Game, I think maybe for me it was just that there wasn't, I'm just not one of the, this comes up in our conversations a lot, is that I think you're a person that finds more enjoyment in creating your own fun, whereas that's not my thing. I'm not that good at that. So it left me feeling like there wasn't much for me in Goose Game.
Maybe that's your next decade is trying to get into undirected play.
No, I'm swearing off fun.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm done with it.
Well, it doesn't need to be fun. It's just to be undirected and play.
Done with fun, 2020.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's Goose Game. Telling Lies.
That's on your list.
It's on my list.
You didn't like that game.
That's not true. I did like it.
You were like, I don't like this.
No, that didn't happen.
Okay.
I did like it. There was some things about it that I wasn't sure about, and here's why. I'll explain. So, the thing that the game does is it tries to pull a fast one on you. If you haven't heard of Telling Lies, it's the I can't remember his name, but he made Her Story, and he also was on the team that made Titanfall Shattered Memories.
Yeah, I know.
Can't remember his name.
The chat will have it.
But he
chat. Who's the guy that made Telling Lies? Tell us.
Yeah, and there's more people. Obviously, it's a whole game of
FSB. It's just one guy.
But so it's
Sam Barlow.
Similar to Her Story, which I haven't played. Yes, you're right.
Sam Barlow.
So, or whoever in the chat that said that was right.
Joseph Chapman. Thank you,
Joseph. You played Her Story. I never played Her Story. But I believe, like Her Story, it is a collection of non-linear story pieces that you explore to figure out what had happened.
Yes. In both games, you have access to a database of recordings.
Yeah.
And you find video clips in the database by searching keywords.
Yeah. And now, I don't know about her story, but in Telling Lies, you only get one side of the conversation.
Right. That is the biggest controversy I've heard about this game.
I love it.
In her story, it's a police interview, but it's all so you only get her talking, but everything's written in such a way that it's a monologue.
Right. It's like someone asked a question.
Right.
That doesn't exist. It was cut out. But then you just have a long monologue answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was in her story. There's no element of like not understanding what's being talked about. Really.
So one of the things that I really like about this game.
That might not be true. Don't go
One
ahead.
of the things that I really like about this game is also one of its biggest weaknesses. Is that it is not trying to be convenient for you to navigate these clips.
Right.
It is actually trying to be inconvenient. It's modeling itself after an inconvenient system. So like,
and I think some people that played this game found that to be an inconvenient truth.
Right. But I think this will come back up when we talk about Outer Wilds. But it's easy for me to...
Oh, are we going to talk about Outer Wilds on this podcast?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yep, I'm sure.
Oh, all right.
It's easy for me to look past but cooperate with the inconvenience because it is a narratively justified. Like, it's not just me that's doing this. It's part of the person who's in the game.
It's part of it.
Yeah. This person is having to do this. They are under a time pressure. They are being like...
Are you
hunted.
under a time pressure in this game?
A little bit. You only have a certain amount of video that you can watch before you get like found by the cops.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, so you have this hard drive that you were not supposed to have.
That's
interesting. And they are fucking after you. So you only have a certain amount of video that you can watch before your game ends.
So can I tell you why I didn't play this game?
Yeah.
Because I heard you talk about it and you weren't that hot on it.
I was always hot on it.
I mean, that was my impression that I got.
When I finished the game, I was really, really unsure of whether I had seen what I was supposed to have seen.
Okay.
And the longer that I've sat with it, the less I cared about whether I had seen what I was supposed to have seen.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
So what I did was I had Telling Lies on my list of games I should play before Game of the Year, but then I went on Steam and I looked at the page for her story, and the user reviews were overwhelmingly positive, and then I went to Telling Lies, and the user reviews were mixed, and I was like, skip!
So, I didn't play her story, so I don't know.
Yeah.
The story in this game... another...
I doubt that the disparity in quality is that dramatic.
Another thing that made me question how much I like this game or not is, I don't know. I like the crow, like the goose. I'm trying to have ideas and execute on those ideas. So you start with the game. It loads up the system where you're supposed to search keywords to find videos, and it has a suggestion in there. Love. It wants you to search. It's telling you, try searching for love. And if you watch the trailer for the game...
Oh, and you were like, nah.
If you watch the trailer for this game, it's like these people's lives are being torn apart by the lies that they tell. And it's like people obviously in relationships, obviously cheating on each other, like talking about those things and talking about these lies and about their relationships. But instead what I did was...
This is the most Keith move ever.
Instead what I did was, oh hey... They have solitaire. So I closed the thing where I can search. The first thing I did was play solitaire, but there was a card missing.
What?
There was a card missing. You can't finish the game of solitaire.
Oh my God.
So I searched for, turns out, spoiler, it was nothing. I still don't know why the card was missing. Maybe it was something. Maybe I just didn't find it. But I believe it was King. The King of Hearts was missing. And so instead of searching love...
That seems significant.
Instead of searching love, I searched King.
Uh-huh.
And what I found was, immediately, what I don't think you're supposed to know straight away, this is not a love story, this is a cop story.
Right.
Your guy is an undercover FBI agent. And so the first video that I watched was this guy saying that his like FBI boss is like the kingmaker. And they're talking about like undercover shit and FBI shit. And I was like, oh, I think that maybe I accidentally spoiled the intended arc of this game for myself a little bit.
Well, I will say though, when I played Her Story, a similar sort of thing happened. I mean, because these two games are specifically designed to be non-linear narrative experiences, so it is made with the idea that you will be able to experience it in any order. So, like, I had a moment like that in Her Story where I was like, "Oh, fuck! I think I discovered the answer 10 minutes into this game," and then it turned out no, there was a much bigger twist.
Yeah, and so I spent the beginning of the game. I spent a lot of the game feeling like I was seeing stuff, not feeling like I was seeing stuff early, but feeling like I was missing the stuff that the game wanted me to see from the beginning.
It's a very weird way to experience a story.
Yeah.
You have to try to set aside preconceived notions of how you're supposed to ingest something.
And I want to, but the story that I did experience was really fucking compelling and was such a good shitty cop story.
Yeah,
this guy is the fucking worst guy.
That was the thing. I heard Rob Zacny talk about this game on Waypoint's Game of the Year, and it was hearing about this whole cop part of the story made it way more interesting, but then also made me want to play it less. 'Cause I'm I don't want to. It's just gonna depress me to. I already spend my entire days thinking about how shitty cops are. I don't know. I can't play a game about it.
It's so interesting. It's just he. I don't want to say too much about the story, but
yeah, don't. I'll probably play it at some point.
Yeah, The game is written from a perspective. I think it's hard to tell because there's a bunch of video that I didn't see by design. But there's I believe it's written from a perspective that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel there's a little bit of weirdness where I feel like I saw what I wanted to be the conclusion about an hour and a half before the game actually ended.
Mm-hmm.
If I had seen the video that I saw an hour and a half before the game ended or an hour before the game ended last, I think I would have come away with a better impression. But now that it's been months and months and it's all just sort of congealed into one thing, it is improved. It is improved with time by compressing all of these things into,
I see what you mean.
I've had time to linearize it in my mind.
Sure.
And I don't know. I didn't play Her Story, so this was sort of the first one of these that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was striking, and they did such a good job of making me seem like one half of a complete conversation where you're I've got to find the other half.
Well, there is, right?
It literally is, yeah. They were recorded together.
The other halves are all there. You just see them separately, right?
Yeah. But they did a really good job of you search for a thing and you see one half of the conversation, but then you have to find the other half.
Right.
The one major issue that I had in terms of we talked about the push and pull of
a frustrating thing that you pointed out was that it's the conversation might be really long, but if you search for the word king, you only get to listen to the chunk that has that word.
That's around king, yeah. And this is sort of what I was talking about. The one thing about the push and pull of the system, the mechanics of the video player working against you is it doesn't tell you how much how much of a video you've seen. If you saw 1 minute of a 7-minute long video, it will mark it as played, and you don't know how much of it you've seen.
Wait, what? That's
So this is the worst part of it. Is so if there's a 7-minute long video, you watch the 2 minutes around where it says Kingmaker because you search for Kingmaker. It'll mark it as you've seen it, but you don't know which of the 7 minutes you've seen or haven't seen.
Interesting.
So you've got to figure out ways to watch more parts, and you have to be active about thinking what are the words I should be searching that will give me the most relevant chunks of these videos. So that's like my biggest criticism of the way you actually interact with the game.
Yeah. It's interesting. It sounds like they're trying to address maybe a flaw of her story, which was the way it worked in her story was that you weren't getting smaller chunks of larger conversations. It was just like, there's 40 video clips in this game, or, whatever the number is. And then it was just like, if you searched for a word that was in the script for that video chunk, that chunk would show up and then you could watch the whole thing.
Huh.
But it was kind of frustrating sometimes if those videos were like several minutes long.
Yeah.
And it was like, you'd have to watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't,
it's
I also
a game
don't,
about watching video, so you end up watching a lot of video.
if I'm remembering, I don't think you might not have actually gotten like a progress bar that you could scrub. Like you might have had to like start at the beginning and watch the whole thing or something.
Yeah, and this one, same thing. There's no progress bar, but you start like a minute before the keyword that you searched.
Now, let me ask you this though. So is it like the word you searched, you get it in the center of a 2 minute, like a minute before and a minute after that word?
Yeah,
is that how it
something
works?
like that, yeah.
So could you then just search a word that shows up at the very end of that chunk and get the next chunk?
I think so, yeah. But you have to be careful because it'll only give you like 5 or 7 results or something. So
Right.
if there's like 18 videos, all that have that keyword,
Right.
it'll only show you like 5 or 7 of them.
Yeah.
And so you've got to like find a word that's in that video but isn't in 10 more videos.
Right. And her story had a similar thing. There was a limited number of results.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like when I hear people who have criticized these games, this is like their main hang up is like the inconvenience of the video browser. But it's like, that's the game. Like games are all about arbitrarily imposed limitations.
Right. It's just a different limitation than you're used to.
Right.
Because people are used to being able to watch a video
Like on YouTube.
On YouTube from wherever they want.
This is not how YouTube works. Like YouTube's not a game.
But it does get like inconvenient. Like the part of it that is really tough is being like, this is an 8-minute long video. It says that I've watched it. How much of it have I watched and which part?
Yeah, that's really weird.
That's like the toughest part. So I wish that there was like
it's not like a partial played. It's not like a hey, you saw some of this.
No.
Why? That's what it needs.
It has been long enough that like I'm only pretty sure that
I
it
can't
even says that
take
you've
anymore.
I'm pretty sure that it says
Take a
played.
swing.
And then you could also like there's like a search history, so you can go and see like what you've searched and what you've watched. But I'm pretty sure that it also just like lets you watch it the same clip that you've already seen. Like it doesn't just start the video from the beginning. Anyway, it's a little rough. I think the story is really interesting. I think it concludes really well. The solitaire is fine, but you're missing a card, so you can never win. And I'm pretty sure it's a different card for everybody.
King of Hearts seems really specific.
It does, but it's good, what are the chances? Like 1 in 52, right? Like,
though technically,
52?
you could. I mean, like the king is the last card you need for each suit, so you could still complete the solitaire game up until the King of Hearts.
But I think there's people that were missing like a queen.
Well, the Queen of Hearts.
Oh, damn. But then you really can't win.
Queen of Clubs.
Yeah. So,
Number 8.
Number 8. A Judgment.
Oh yeah, tell me about Yakuza 6.5.
One of the top 2 NPCs of the year. Your big buff Yakuza buddy, whose name I am blanking on, but that's fine. I think it begins with a K.
You're saying in this game called Judgment. In this game we call Judgment.
In this game we call Judgment.
You have a compatriot.
Yeah.
And you find
a friend.
You find this friend enjoyable.
Yeah, one of the top 2 video game friends of the year.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Who's the other friend?
We'll get there. Wow. Yeah.
What could that... Now I gotta think, what came out this year? What is the other friend? Mr. X? Mr. X is the other friend.
Yeah, so we'll get to where I put... pretty soon, we'll get to where I put Resident Evil 2 remastered on my list.
That makes sense.
So, Judgment, I'm sure that people know that it has something to do with Yakuza. But it actually doesn't.
It actually does.
It's in
though.
the same city.
It's in the same city with the same engine, the same gameplay style.
Yeah,
it's
but
just
none of the same characters.
Yeah, it's just
not the same story.
Well, it's just it's a different story, different characters, and I understand that the tone of the story is different from a typical Yakuza game, but you gotta admit this is just a Yakuza spinoff, and I don't mean
It's
just
a spinoff.
I don't that's fine.
It's a spinoff.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
sure.
It's just it's distressing to me how many of these fucking Yakuza games are piling up that I haven't played.
Yeah.
And
You gotta play 0.
I'll play 0.
You gotta play 0.
I'm gonna play 0.
What a game. Really, totally turned me around on the whole thing.
Okay.
0 to hero.
Wow.
Yeah. Except 0 is the hero in this.
There you go.
Yeah. So the combat is pretty much the same as a Yakuza game.
It's a brawler.
There's less of it, which is nice.
It's a brawler.
There's less of like street fighting, but there is still some of it.
I would hope because you're a lawyer instead of a thug.
You're not a lawyer. You're a private detective. You're just disgraced
You're an
former
ex-lawyer.
lawyer.
Yes, of course.
Who also grew up on the streets.
You know
It's
what?
part of your backstory.
Another game, just like Telling Lies. Another thing I didn't want to play the game because it was just gonna make me depressed about how fucked up the judicial system in Japan is.
So it is fucked up. The judicial system in Japan does seem fucked up. The judicial system, shocker, where we live, also fucked up majorly.
Citation needed.
Really? But the thing that I really like about it is like, okay, think of like lawyer shows in America.
Okay.
They are
Like the Grinder.
Like the Grinder. Actually, the Grinder is a great example of a one that does not follow type.
Yeah, that would make sense.
There are no fucking shows about defense attorneys anymore. They are all about prosecutors.
Yeah.
It is all about like cops and prosecutors and putting people in jail.
Yeah.
But it didn't used to be. There used to be shows about defense attorneys.
You're right.
They used to be like the good guys.
Yeah.
Because they would get innocent people off.
Right.
And now it's all about like put these people in jail.
I'm going to vigorously get this man off.
And so it's nice. It is nice to be playing a game about a defense attorney.
Yo, is that Heat that is coming on right now?
Yeah, I think so.
Fuck that.
We can turn it off in a minute. When we finish about Judgment,
right.
when we finish about Judge Eyes,
Yeah, Judge Eyes.
we should cut out me saying Judgment and just do Judge Eyes.
Judge Eyes.
A title that I do genuinely really like.
I hated that title. But then, like, Judgment is so generic that I didn't.
Yeah.
Well, okay, here's the thing. I hated the title Judge Eyes until I knew that it was about a person going around stealing people's eyes. And then I was like, well, that's a fine title.
Yeah. And, you know, it has, like, the fucking hard-boiled detective thing of, like, you just get wound up in a bigger and bigger and bigger thing. Like, first it's about eyes, and then it's about real estate, and then it's about government. And it's like, what? Where am I?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, like, being fucking dragged around by your nose sort of thing is always fun if they can do it right. And they do it really well. And, like,
You mean, like, the feeling of, like, it's that classic thing of a private detective taking a case that starts small and it spirals out of control.
Yeah. It goes all the way to the top.
Oh, boy.
And
I had this one kind of spoiled on the Giant Bomb.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That sucks. So it's like
I was also
this
kind of like, I'm not going to play this game.
It's this really nice push and pull of like this guy who feels guilty about his past as a lawyer, who's obsessed with finding the truth about other things, like thinks that the truth has been revealed about his past life, and now wants to do right by people, and the way that his drive to find the truth about the new thing and his guilt about the old thing like fall together and pull back apart is very well done, and it's wrapped up in a totally fine brawler for some reason. Like,
I can't wait for it to be turn-based.
I think that this game would have been better with less fighting.
Turn-based combat?
Who fucking gives a shit about the fighting?
All right.
I don't give a shit at all about the fighting.
That's what I mean.
But like I don't need there to be fighting in a different way.
I know.
Like, if it was just...
I'm just bringing that up because it's like, it's on the table because the next Yakuza
I like the brawl. If it was just brawling, but you only did it 15% of the time, like if you did like 85% less brawling.
If only there was some kind of game where you played as a detective that had your life in danger but didn't have a combat system. Do you think anyone could ever make a game like that?
No.
Damn. Our dreams will never be realized.
I guess. Are you hinting at something that I'm just not thinking about?
Disco Elysium.
Oh, yeah. Great. I don't know. I felt... There might not be combat in that game, but I did constantly feel like my life was in danger.
That's what I said.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. I would say, like, it has danger, but there's no combat.
Yeah. Duh. I was like, what is she talking about? I was like, are you talking about L.A. Noire? So...
fuck L.A. Noire.
Oh, I wish there was more... I wish there was a little bit of Phoenix Wright in the game. In Judgment. There's
like a cameo.
There's like
just
some...
like let me see a little Phoenix in there.
I wish there was like some shit that you could do in a courtroom.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
There's a couple courtroom scenes and they're like cutscenes, basically. Like this is a detective game, not a lawyer game.
Yeah.
Full stop.
You know that feeling where you're like playing a game and then you suddenly realize like, oh, there's a whole section of this game where they're like ripping off this other well-known series, but they're totally nailing it. Like you're like playing Dead Space, and then you're like, oh, the weapon upgrade tree in Dead Space is the sphere grid from Final Fantasy X. That's dope.
Yeah.
Like imagine if you played that game for 25 hours, and then you were suddenly like, oh, it's Phoenix Wright now.
Yeah.
Like that'd be so rad.
Take out 75% of the brawling and add in some really well done Phoenix Wright court shit when it's appropriate near the end of the game. And there's like a couple little things where like the trailing system is not very fun. It's like okay,
Woof.
but there's one really hard one for no reason. Like you do it 20 times and it's totally fine, and then one time for no reason there's an impossibly hard one that lasts like 25 minutes instead of like 2 minutes. Just stuff like that. There didn't seem to be as much thought put into the Yakuza-style side stories as was in Yakuza 0. I wish there was a little bit more thought put into some of those. But those are always like goofy and campy and like off-tone. But Judgment, I really liked it. I thought it was great.
Someone in the chat chimed in. We were talking about shows about defense attorneys.
Yeah.
I think this is maybe an unclear example, questionable, but How to Get Away with Murder. It is in the title.
Yeah. I haven't seen that. I thought that was a show about a college class.
It is.
Okay.
But it's a...
Taught by a defense attorney?
It's a college class about being a defense attorney.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Then
also, then they get... Maybe people get caught up in legal somethings. Nick watched like the first 2 seasons and I saw a good chunk of it.
I have a tough time with television drama, of like serial drama.
Yeah, I'm not into it really.
That's the like week to week drama. I think is fine.
Because it's like some people like Captain Crunch and some people like Frosted Flakes, and I'm like, enough of this serial drama. I can't handle this.
I like Honey Graham O's.
What? You like? Okay, there's a lot of people that like Raisin Bran, but if you mention Kellogg's or Post to the Raisin Bran people, it's gonna be like a catastrophe. It's gonna be a whole thing. It's gonna break out. They're gonna get out their chains.
Honestly, no opinion, one or the other. I probably like the Kellogg one better. Probably sweeter. Post, here's what I like about Post. Post isn't afraid.
Tell me what you like about Post cereal.
Post cereal, not afraid to keep cereal names from like 80 years ago that don't make any fucking sense anymore. Shredded wheat? Yeah, I'm gonna buy a cereal called Shredded Wheat.
What is shredded wheat?
Kellogg's fine calling it Frosted Mini Wheats. Mini wheat, sure. Shredded wheat?
Well, it's because they're because they're mini versions of. They still sell Kellogg's shredded wheat.
They don't call it shredded wheat. Only Post calls it shredded wheat.
I'm Googling.
Me too.
I mean, like, because it's like a full size. Like, the Kellogg shredded wheat is a mini wheat that's not mini. It's big.
No.
Kellogg's shredded wheat.
But I don't think that cereal exists anymore. I think they changed it.
But yeah, okay, so you might be right that it's gone, but like, this is classic shredded wheat, check this shit out.
That's big.
That's
so big.
This is one bowl of cereal it is a full bowl that contains 2 shredded wheats because they're so big. Because the idea is supposed to, you wait till it gets soggy and you pull it apart and then you eat it like it's cream of wheat, and that's fucking gross. Don't do that.
See, and this is what I like about
Get
Post.
some mini wheats for that ass. They've adapted.
It's not
that they kept it the same. It's that they changed it. They were like, this is what shredded wheat is now. Forget the old shredded wheat.
But they kept the old ass weird name shredded wheat.
No, you're right.
Corn flakes. I don't think that's Post, but
Corn Flakes is Kellogg's because it was John Kellogg.
Yeah, that's psycho.
The founder of Kellogg's cereal created.
We should make a 2019 top 10 cereal list based on how literal the name is. Shredded wheat is the most literal. Corn flake, pretty literal. Frosted Flakes, a little less literal. It is flakes. It is frosted, but frosted what?
Flakes of corn. Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, you
slightly less literal.
The
Honey Graham O's.
We need to.
That's pretty literal.
We do need to speed this along, but I just, for anyone who doesn't know, you can Google it. John Kellogg, the Kellogg of Kellogg's cereal. He invented corn flakes, and the reason he did that was because it was meant to be like the most bland food possible to kill your sex drive, to stop you from thinking impure thoughts and engaging in immoral sexual acts.
What a bad...
Like masturbation.
Right. We all hate.
It's great. Same exact origin for graham crackers. Someone named Graham was like, this cracker will totally kill your boner.
Total
and we
War.
Still eat them.
Total War, 3 Kingdoms.
I'm going to add it to the list. And just a note, graham crackers have changed. It's not the same graham cracker, but it's like, it's, you know.
That's good, because I love a graham cracker.
Oh, I love a good graham cracker.
Yeah.
Well, because it's graham crackers with honey. Yes, I don't think original Graham, he's not putting honey on it.
I like the cinnamon sugar ones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
not a big fan of cinnamon sugar.
I don't, but I respect it.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of cinnamon sugar generally. Like, I think it's fine. But there's a few things where I'm like, this works really well with cinnamon sugar. Like an apple cider donut. That's cinnamon sugar. That's great.
Wow.
Yeah. Total War 3 Kingdoms.
Tell me about Total War 3 Kingdoms.
So, this is the second Total War game that I've played. I played one years and years ago that I think was Total War Rome. This is a much better game than that. I had a ton of fun. So, first of all, the 3 Kingdoms story is, I think, fascinating.
I know basically nothing about it.
So, like, imagine...
Is there a Yellow Turban Rebellion?
Yes.
Yes!
Yeah. Also, that's real. So that's the thing. It's like half real. Like it did.
Is it one of those things?
Like it's like
it's like a real historical thing that happened in China, but it was so long ago that it's basically a legend at this point.
Think of it this way.
It's basically myth. Is that the idea?
So someone wrote a book, a mythology book about the real thing.
Right.
About the real,
and that has become canon. Is that the
kind of?
Yeah.
So imagine the Revolutionary War, the American War for Independence. But like all of the generals had basically like superpowers.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of what the 3 Kingdoms shit is. It did actually happen.
So yeah.
But none of those people actually had superpowers. None of them actually killed, 8,000 people.
Yeah, so hearing this game explained, Total War 3 Kingdoms, hearing it explained retroactively it explains Dynasty Warriors. Like, they didn't just do that because it sounded fun.
Exactly.
They were actually making the story.
Right. Yes, totally. Yeah. 100%. And those characters are the same fucking characters.
Right.
Like Lu Bu in both of those games.
Lu Bu.
No, everyone hates fuck Lu Bu.
I don't know. I don't just know the name.
Lu Bu. Here's what Lu Bu does. Lu Bu says...
spoilers for the Three Kingdoms story, everybody.
Lu Bu keeps finding new father figures and basically murdering and betraying them and going to join someone else. And then it's like, no, you're my new father.
Nice.
I'm going... And then, like, in 6 months, someone's like, you should join me. You should kill your dad and join me. And so he just keeps, like, betraying and murdering. But then, like, everybody that gets Lu Bu on their side has is like totally unbeatable while he's with them
because they have a Lu Bu,
but then is betrayed and murdered.
But is this not essentially the rallying cry of Run Button? Say, kill your dad and join me. Is that not?
But he kills some nice people. They're not actually his dad. He just says they're his dad.
Yeah, guys, if you're going to kill a dad, it's got to be your real dad.
Your real dad.
It has to be your biological father.
I believe he did start out by killing his biological father. So Three Kingdoms, it's a Total War game. It is mostly a Total War game, it's
a Total War game.
It is a completely war game.
Yeah. It sounded good. It sounded cool.
So, but instead of having armies, you have armies led by generals, and these generals are the characters of the Three Kingdoms story, and then some made-up ones, I think, too. But, like, those characters can duel each other, and they have powers, and they can give buffs to their... And they level up, and they gain access to stronger troops. And so you have this thing where it's not just like, oh, I have an army with these units. It's like, oh, I have an army led by X guy.
Larry, Jesse Jesse M in the chat just says, Lu Bu, bad at having dads?
Yeah, really bad. He doesn't know what dads are, and also he keeps killing them. And...
See, okay... Churlington Beastcoat completed the joke that I failed to make. Was you said instead of having armies, and I was like, oh, what should I say? And I couldn't think of it. And Churlington says, instead of having armies, you have leggies.
Yeah. So you have these little leggies, and they go. So okay. So the general gist of the war game.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I had to say Churlington Beastcoat's name because they made a funny joke in the thing. But I just want to put it out there, still mad at Churlington Beastcoat for tweeting spoilers to the Star Wars movie. It spoiled the thing from Star Wars for me. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck you.
Not cool.
Don't tweet spoilers.
And then when I was like, hey, you spoiled me, they weren't like, oh, sorry. They were just like, oh, I forget that people actually follow me. Unfollowed.
There you go. Actions have consequences.
Actions have consequences.
Okay, Kylie. Three Kingdoms, Total War. Total War games, you want to get more spots on the map. You have some spots, you want to get more spots. And you use your armies typically to get more spots on the map. And, you have cities. The cities produce resources. The resources help you build more things to make your cities better. They help you build more armies, blah, blah, blah. The beginning of this game is really fun. I was Sun Jian, the only good choice.
Question.
Yeah.
The only Total War game I've played was Total War Shogun 2.
Yeah.
That had ninjas. Does this game have ninjas?
No.
Not interested.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, maybe it would be my number one if it had a ninja.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? It wouldn't. No, it wouldn't be. No. It would be very weird if it had ninjas. So you start off, you have, I believe sort of historically, like, this is the area that this guy literally controlled. He was a warlord. He had some land. The basic story is that the empire split apart because the levers of government were captured by corrupt eunuchs. And at the same time as the government was sort of betraying itself, the Yellow Turban Rebellion started popping up all over the place, and were taking over cities, and, it led to the collapse into different warring factions that were either aligned or not aligned with the corrupt emperor. Yes.
Can you start over? Sorry, I was looking at the chat.
Okay. The story of the Three Kingdoms, basically, the very beginning of it is you have...
I'm listening this time.
You have, the Chinese Empire that is...
Never heard of it.
It's falling apart in two ways. You have the emperor. The levers of power were essentially hijacked by corrupt eunuchs. And
I hate when that happens.
Oh, in Chinese history, it happens all the time. Essentially, every major Chinese rebellion starts by corrupt eunuchs seizing the levers of power. Literally constantly, it's happening in China. Not anymore. They don't do eunuchs anymore.
Well, that's why. They had to stop it.
They had to stop. It took thousands of years for them to realize maybe we shouldn't have so many eunuchs.
They had to nip that in the bud by not nipping those people in the bud.
Yeah. So the government is sort of betraying itself by the corrupt eunuchs doing whatever they want to keep themselves powerful. And then at the same time, you've got the Yellow Turban Rebellion fracturing the literal land. So you've got like a governmental fracturing and then like a literal spatial fracturing. And so you've got all these areas controlled by the Yellow Turban Rebellion. You've got these areas controlled by the vestiges of the old empire. And then you've got
the Blue Lions, the Golden Eagles.
Yeah.
And then Black Eagles. And then Golden Deer's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
What's Golden Deer doing in all this?
So Golden Deer is, I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know enough about.
I appreciate that you tried.
Yeah, I didn't try that hard.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
So, and then you've got these warlords, people, they control a certain amount of land. They are sometimes aligned with and sometimes aligned against the emperor in order to either reunify China under the old dynasty or to start a new dynasty. And so you get to control a little piece of land that is like kind of a little bit historically maybe what that actual guy might have controlled, which is a little bit cool. It's a little bit paradox. Crusader Kings.
Oh, I was like, how is this a paradox?
And the beginning part of this game where you're like trying to expand past your little piece and have like a functioning little area is really, really fun and like a nice tightrope walk. There's a really good diplomacy system in the game. There's really easy to manage like trade stuff, like the alliance stuff and the like protectorate stuff. It all works really well. And then the fighting is really fun. Like the war stuff, like the strategic on the ground RTS part of it is
question.
Fun. Yes.
Two-part question.
Yes. I'll take part one first.
One, is this a linear campaign or is this a Crusader King style where it's kind of like freeform? It depends on how you go about it.
Yes, both. So you get a mission, and then the mission is like follow the course of history here. But you do not have to do that. There's no reason why you would have to do that, especially because like a lot of these people end up dying. So like the game doesn't you get to a point where it's like, okay, you've played out enough of the history.
Pour one out
now
for Lubu.
Now just win the game.
Okay.
But like you never have to do the history stuff. There isn't any reason to be forced to play it linearly.
Second part of my question.
Yes.
When you're playing, is the whole thing? Is it all one thing?
What
you know what I mean?
Can you see all of China at once?
Well, I mean, like, so you're playing through the story of the Three Kingdoms.
Yeah.
Romance of the Three Kingdoms?
Romance of the Three Kingdoms is like
the
mythology book. Yeah.
Okay.
Those are history.
I couldn't tell because I know that there's a game series that's just called that, and I didn't know if like that was just for the games or if that was
no, super old book.
Okay.
And then the history is like it's called History of the Three Kingdoms.
Right.
It's like the real.
Okay. So you're playing through the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Is this segmented into separate games, or is it all one big long game?
It's all one big long game.
Dope.
It took hours and hours and hours to finish this. It was like 40 hours that it took me to finish.
Nice.
The game. And so that's like my biggest criticism is I don't play a ton of strategy games.
Mm-hmm.
I play probably play one a year. And
that's a lot.
Yeah, it's not a genre of choice for me. But
Me
this
neither.
one was particularly good, I think. And you get to a point a lot of the times, this happens in like Civ games too, but it's a little bit worse than this, where it's just like, I'm so powerful, and I control so much of the land that it's like, the rest of this game is like literally a matter of running out the clock, you know?
Right.
And that was not a ton of fun, but like everything getting to that point was a blast, I thought. I really like the land management stuff. I really like the diplomacy. I really like the RTS parts. My one criticism is that like I think that the spy system was broken for me. I could never get my spies to work.
Those are the ninjas.
Oh, is that what that? Okay. That's why I thought there were spies.
Yeah.
So basically what happened, you were
trying to send out spies. You needed to be sending out ninjas, and that's why it didn't work.
So certain people have the willingness to go be a spy for you. And so you send them out to a place, and then they basically like generate points to be able to do tasks that help you. But the spy has a chance of like turning on you and just being like, I just live here now. Like, I'm done being a spy. I just live in my new spot.
Sure.
Like, you know,
like at some point they just like
infiltrated
retire.
the army. They made me a general. I'm just gonna be a general here for real.
Gotcha.
But I had like 95% of the time, the first turn that they were a spy for me, immediately were defecting, and I couldn't get a spy going. It was very weird.
Do you have some like nationalism meter that you needed to fill or something?
All the characters have happiness meters, and I was sending out characters who were happy in their job. They already were happy.
Well, that was your mistake. They were like, I'm happy right where I am, and you were like, go be a spy.
No, but you can't send anyone to be a spy. They have to be willing to be sent to be a spy.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I don't know what the problem was, but that's Three Kingdoms. I thought it was really fun. It gets a little bit unwieldy at the end, the same way that a lot of these strategy games do.
What is your next game?
Next game, Death Stranding. I didn't finish this game, but I played a lot of it.
Me neither.
I played like 40 fucking hours of this game, and I feel comfortable putting it on my list, even though I haven't finished it yet.
I didn't play anywhere near that amount.
Did you put it on your list?
I guess we'll find out.
I guess we'll find out.
I guess I maybe I shouldn't say I didn't play anywhere near it. I probably played like 20 hours. That's a bunch.
Yeah. It's possible that I played like 35, but I think that I played quite a bit of the game.
Can you close that?
Are you trying to get me to shut the door?
Yes, please. Thank you.
So, game.
Death
Stranding. Oh, what to say that hasn't already been said.
About it? We did have... Okay, how about this? We just put out a podcast where we talked about Death Stranding for like 90 minutes at least.
But that was like 6 hours in.
That's what I'm saying is, can we try to think of things that we... ways in which our opinions of this game have evolved.
Yeah. Actually, I have a much better opinion of it now than then. Like,
me too.
I had identified
slightly.
I had identified the things about the game that I liked and didn't like, and I was unsatisfied with the rates that I was doing the stuff I didn't like versus what I did like. I was like, 25% of this game is running away from mules and navigating through BTs, It's the worst part of the game.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you break out of that first area and hit chapter 3 or whatever, you're in a new area. I played like 25 more hours of the game before I had dealt with as many BTs as I did in the first 5 hours.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, oh, they like fucking dialed in the EQ to exactly what I wanted. Like it is no longer a thundering bass. It is like turned down to where it is now easy listening.
I think the mules. I think the mules were still intense for chapter 3.
I just went
which
around.
I think is where I am.
I just went around.
Yeah, well, you could build. Then you can start building roads. You can build that big fucking highway and just cruise right by.
Yeah. And I'm at a spot now where
you get the bolo gun.
Yeah. You start getting a lot more tools to deal with the different things. Right. Like you start getting all the different kinds of grenades. You start getting the blood grenades. You start getting the bolo guns.
Exosuit.
Yeah.
Skeleton.
And so now the worst part of the game is the boss battles.
I've only played one boss battle. No problems with it at all.
I didn't have problems.
Breezed right through it.
But
I heard so many people just lose their shit about that boss fight. I thought it was like not anything.
I just wish it wasn't there. I don't need it. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just nothing to me.
True.
Stop doing this. Just let me walk around. That's what I want to do in the game. Is just walk around. I have a little floating carrier. And I can put it on my belt, and now I have like a little floating carrier that carries stuff with me. Just let me walk around with my little floating carrier.
Yeah, this game wasn't just made by Kojima.
No.
But I don't know.
But his grimy fucking little fingerprints are all over it.
Oh, his grimy little fingerprints. Well, but also the people that are working on this team with him, I don't know how long he's been working with those people. You know, maybe it's some people that he's been working with for 20 years. And, this feels vestigial of like, it's a video game. It's got to have boss fights.
Yeah.
It's got to have a gun.
It felt vestigial in Metal Gear Solid 5, too. They sucked. Yeah. I hated the boss battles in that. It sucked.
Yeah, those weren't... I don't remember almost any of them, but they weren't.
It was
good.
The only part of the game that I didn't like.
Yeah.
But yeah, the second boss was even easier than the first for me. The third one took an hour and sucked. I didn't lose. It just took fucking forever. It was awful. It was kind of tense. It was kind of scary. It was also boring, and it took too long. Like, it was just like the worst of all possible worlds. But yeah, I really love building the roads and driving on the roads.
Roads is great. Once you unlock motorcycles, you get an exoskeleton. You get an exoskeleton, so it's like robot legs that go over your human legs.
Yeah.
And it like quadruples the amount of weight you can carry and doubles your run speed. And like you just have to charge it once an hour or something. And it's like it's just that is what's cool.
And the roads keep it from losing charge. And then you get to a point where there's like other people's buildings all over the place.
Right.
And like there's just like chargers all over the place.
Yeah, I think in some criticisms, I think some people might not have liked the rate at which the game gives you those improvements that make the game easier. But honestly, for me, like a game that starts really hard and a little bit frustrating and then alleviates those as you progress through the game, that's like my favorite progression.
I felt the rate of upgrades... The big problem was that you didn't get any for the worst part of the game where there was the most stuff. Like, BTs are new. Mules are new. You have no tools to deal with either of them.
Yeah, those, like... I don't even think mules like should have even been in the first area.
Yeah. And then in the second game, or in the second area...
And it takes too long to get motorcycles. But once you get those... Motor tricycle.
Once you get out of that first area into the second area, from that point on, the rate of upgrades, I think, is solid.
Sick.
And at this point, I'm like, what even else can I need? There's more than enough tools.
I just got my little floaty platform that follows me around.
The platform. Love it. I got the truck. The truck is great.
I stole a truck from mules once.
Nice. Did you use it for a while?
Yeah. Ran out of gas.
Bummer.
Electricity.
So I guess that's what's different is that they like mostly have increased the amount of all of the stuff that I already liked from the last time we talked about it. The traversal, the like deliveries, the building. They've added the building of the roads, which I think is really fun. Like I built so many fucking roads. I'm totally out of resources. I built so many roads. And so all that stuff has increased. The amount that you have to deal with BTs is down. The amount that you have to deal with mules is down. The biggest thing right now is that the bosses. I'm not having fun with the bosses.
You know, I think last time we talked about this in the podcast, I think I was like frustrated with BTs because I was like, it feels impossible to not get caught by BTs constantly.
Yeah.
And I don't know what was different about what I was doing then, but since then I've totally figured out the BTs and it's not a problem.
Well, for now I just go around the whole area. Just fucking forget about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, sometimes you can't really do that.
That's
Sometimes
true.
you have to
Well,
go
the first area had story BTs that you have. The other area does too, but it just so much less frequently. Where it's there will always be BTs
a BT story beat.
Yeah, BT story beat. And the BT story beat, I think, is it wants you to be seeing them so that you know what you're dealing with. And so, but later on, they don't give a shit if
it wants you to CT the BTs in this BT story beat.
Yeah, it wants you to CT the BT in the BT story beat.
Close,
very close,
very close. I'll say again, I'm still in chapter 3, so I'm barely through this game, but I started really.
I think I'm in chapter 5 or 6.
I started really enjoying the gameplay. So I'll just say I put it on my list. It's not very high on my list. It's lower on my list than it's on your list.
Yeah.
This totally clicked for me in a way, the gameplay wise, where I would start playing it for multiple hours. There were times when I was not playing it and felt an urge to play the game, which was good because that wasn't how I felt about it at first. And I was the only thing for me is that the horrible insipid story didn't get any better. There was just way less of it as I got further into the game, but I still hate everything about the story.
Here's the thing. So that's actually something that I like less. So the story is insipid, you're right. But there's just something about the energy of the cutscenes. There's just weird. The story is just very slightly surreal.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of lore and the amount of world building is just heavy enough where it's a weighted blanket. It's very comforting. It's a very comforting amount of bullshit.
Yeah, I still like all the fictional trappings of the world.
Yeah.
It's just Kojima's games aren't they're known for having interesting stories. They're not known for having incredibly well-written stories,
right.
But it's and again, I don't know who was writing on this. Kojima always gets a writing credit on these games, but increasingly I'm not convinced.
So does fucking Vin Diesel.
I'm not convinced he does any writing. I don't know who wrote this, but it was just so much worse the writing than other Kojima games. This is bizarre.
You're right. There's just something about it that I like, even though it's dumb. And it just feels like a dumb movie. It just feels like a stupid fucking movie.
But
which is what he wants to do. He wants to just make a bad movie. I mean, he wants to make a movie, but it'll be a bad one.
Yeah.
Like we said on the last one, he's just a David Cage that's taken more seriously.
Well, he also makes better games.
He makes better games, right? Well, that's part of why he's taken more seriously. But I'm at a point now.
I do just love how weird the game is. It is just really interesting.
Really interesting?
I don't know where I was going, but it's just
what I was gonna say.
It is it's a fun game. I like traversing. Like I mentioned before, it's I'm into the idea of cross-country traversal in a video game being gameplay. That's really engaging to me. I don't love everything about the delivery system, but I do really like the way that this game totally goes for like the high-minded ideas of like bringing people together and helping each other through like this like limited interactivity and stuff. Like tons of games do this, but it just somehow works in a way in Death Stranding that I feel like it doesn't work in other games.
Yeah, even though it seems almost like half-baked and naive, it also seems sincere and genuine.
That's a great way to put it is when you examine it, like when the game lays its cards out on the table, like this is what the game is and how it works, and you look at it and you're like, that's not well constructed. This doesn't make sense.
It's not well constructed. It's not even well conceived.
It's not well conceived. This isn't gonna work at all. But then you're playing the game, you're just like, shit, it kind of fucking works.
Yeah. Yeah. It does kind of work.
Yeah.
And then the game itself is really fun. It's very meditative. It's like a little bit... It's like...
Yeah, meditative.
It's like I play it in the same way where, like, you know, I was playing No Man's Sky, just like wandering around, or playing like Breath of the Wild, where I'm not like doing anything. I just like want to run around in the Breath of the Wild area. And like this has that feeling where it's just like, pick up a package, pick up a thing. There's a thing here. Let me go run and take it there. I'll take it there. I'm like, oh, it's been 3 hours. And like, this is enough. And it also like... It also started correcting a problem that I was having with it, where I started to get the Firewatch feeling, where Firewatch was a game that I did really like, but it had this walking simulator thing where the world seemed so empty.
Yeah.
There's nothing and no one.
There's nothing in it.
It seems like the story is a ghost. It feels like my character is dead. Like there's no. It feels like the world is an illusion, which is true. None of these things
which is
real.
True. That's the twist at the end of Firewatch. Is you were a ghost the whole time. It's not.
No,
that's not true.
And it's like, and Firewatch was really had this problem really badly for me, where like it was constantly hinting that there was someone or something right around the corner,
right?
And they never showed it.
Yeah. It kept. Like, it started out feeling like, oh, it's clever how they work around their budgetary limitations to not really, like, show you the people. But then by the end of the game, it was like, okay, fucking knock it off. Like, show a person or don't.
And so I was starting to get that vibe where it's like, okay, I've spent, like, 8 hours picking up things, and the only thing that's really happened is that, like, a little image of a guy pops up, and it was like, everything's in great condition. Thanks again, Sam. You're literally the best, and I'm in love with you. Bye. And then they disappear. And then, like, it's your only interaction with people. But then, as I started unlocking more and more things, more porters started showing up, like NPC porters, just wandering around the world. And it gave, like, just a little bit of a hint of, like, this is a place.
Yeah.
Just enough to keep it from really bugging me that I was in an empty world doing a job that supposedly other people have. Supposedly there's other porters. Yeah. Where are they? I don't fucking know. And then, like, right when it was starting to bug me, oh yeah, here's other porters. And they'll come by and they'll, like, hand you supplies. They'll, like, give you supplies if you need them. You're probably, like, right before porters start showing up.
Maybe.
And there's not a lot of them. And, like, there's still not, like, characters out in the world. Yeah. And there's still not, like, people hanging out.
That's fine. Death Stranding...
It just seems a little empty and flat.
Well, I mean, the world is... I mean, it's a hellscape.
World. Yeah, it's a bad world.
So, like, the fiction of the world is no one goes out except porters, and that's why they're super valuable and seen as heroes. So it makes sense that you wouldn't see that many. But yeah, you're right. It is weird that you don't never see any. But
yeah. But and it, you know, it is in there narratively. And then also they do fix it a little bit, and I do appreciate that, like, right when that feeling was starting to get to me, they did have more porters out there. But, yeah, so, anyway, that's sort of how I'm feeling differently about Death Stranding than when we talked about it when we were only each a few hours in.
Okay.
Anything else to say on it?
Not really, but I will say, because we've been mentioning a lot of things that we said about Death Stranding on that previous podcast, I'll add one more follow-up to that previous podcast, because remember we talked about Evangelion, and the podcast I was way more positive than I meant to be. So then at the beginning, I added a little note at the beginning of the podcast that was like, by the way, I was more positive than I meant to be. Actually, fuck everything about this show.
Are you now saying, and then, actually, I'm too negative?
The thing, yeah. Well, at the time, I was like, oops, I accidentally went too far in the opposite direction. That was too negative, but whatever. It was weirdly stressful and difficult for me to record this, and I even accidentally recorded it on my internal MacBook microphone instead of my real microphone. I listened to it at first. I was like, this sounds fucking terrible. Why is my mic so bad? I need a new mic. It was the wrong mic. But I now have much more complicated feelings about Evangelion. I kind of love it. I've watched it 3 times.
Thank you for proving to me again
sucks,
and again
but
and
it's
again
great.
that I made the perfect decision in choosing to not watch this.
That's not how I feel about it. But anyways, see more of my thoughts about Evangelion on my podcast Dabble.
How's that going?
The first Evangelion episode is out now. The second one is up for patrons of Dabble. The third one is forthcoming. That first one is fine. A little bit of a first pancake Eva discussion. Eva's a hard thing to talk about.
First pancake?
First pancake. Your first pancake's always bad.
Oh, my first pancake's always perfect.
No, that's not true.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I make perfect pancakes.
No, you make one pancake and it's like you go, oh, that's a pretty good pancake. But then you make your second one and you're like, now that's a fucking pancake.
No, I don't know about that.
Okay, well, it's a thing.
Okay, sorry. Sorry that I make 2 good pancakes.
Yeah, I guess you're too
My
perfect.
fault. I didn't mean to make pancakes that were too good.
Anyways, Ava's a hard thing to talk about. Look forward to our second episode. And I hope everyone likes the little skit that I produced at the beginning of that episode. I worked really hard on it. I think it came out good. It's an Ava parody.
Nice.
You won't get it if you haven't watched the show.
Dragon Quest Builders 2!
I
love this game. This game was fucking great.
Good, great.
I thought it was super fun. I thought it was really cute.
I didn't care for it at all.
Really?
But whatever.
You didn't play that much.
Yeah, I had trouble getting into it, but it's one of those things where I liked the first one so much, and this one is basically the same thing. Like I'm glad that you're into it because I liked the first one so much.
You stopped playing like right before I think it gets really good.
Probably.
Which I tried to tell you like 8 times.
I know. I've been so busy this year.
Yeah. So I know at the beginning I said. At the beginning of the show, I said that in Judge Eyes, your NPC is the second best NPC of the year. So I limited it to 2. But if I had said you're the second of top 3, your friend in Dragon Quest Builders 2 would be number 3.
Oh, what's his face? Malroth.
Yeah. Malroth would be his third best friend of the year. Can someone in the chat, by the way, tell me your fucking friend's name in Judge Eyes, please? It's killing me that I can't remember his name. He's so fucking great.
I'll say a little bit of what I love about Builders 1 and 2 is that they're throwbacks to original Dragon Quest 1 and 2 in a fun way, like the way that those games were Famicom games, NES games. So like everyone was like a little chibi sprite on the screen, and like all the buildings were just like 3 walls with no roof so that you could see inside the building. And I love like that's how it works in Builders. Like buildings are just 3 walls with no roof. Like later you unlock roofs or whatever.
Yeah,
and I love
really
that.
Like 15 hours of the game.
and all the people are little chibi people instead of like properly proportioned people. And I love the way it messes with the storyline where I think like Dragon Quest Builders 1 is almost like an alternate timeline. It's like a direct sequel to Dragon Quest 1 if a thing that happens at the end of Dragon Quest 1 had gone a different way, which was really interesting. And so then I loved that Builders 2 was then a direct sequel to Dragon Quest 2 again, where like in that game there you have to stop this guy named Hargon, and his whole thing is that the whole game he's trying to resurrect Malroth, the god of destruction, and then you finally stop him right at the end. And then in Dragon Quest Builders 2, pretty much the first thing that happens is like you wash up on shore next to a kid, and he's like, "Hey, nice to meet you. My name's Malroth." And you're like, "Wait, why does this guy have the name of the god of destruction that just got defeated?" That seems important.
So yeah, it does. So they don't make any bones about this. The entire it's so.
Yeah, it's like, I have no idea why
Even if you
I have
didn't-
such a strong urge to destroy stuff. Right now.
Even if you're like me and didn't know that that Malroth is the guy. First of all, it was a Malroth.
Yeah. Like technically it does tell you at the beginning of Builders 2, but you would have had to like be looking for it really hard if you weren't if you didn't already know the story, you know what I mean?
But even if you didn't if you missed that, if you didn't know about Dragon Quest Builders 1, if you didn't understand that Malroth is coded to be a villain's name, it still is obvious that he's like the bad guy of the world that just doesn't know that he's the bad guy. He's always trying to build. He's like, I'm so inspired by you, builder. Let me try to build something, and like it just like keeps like exploding.
Yeah,
he can't build anything. And
so, is like the turning point of the story when you have to realize you have to combine your powers of building and destruction into?
Should I tell you the turning point of the story?
No, I guess you shouldn't.
Yeah. I don't think, but the thing that the game does really well is it keeps you on a pretty tight leash, but it ping
too tight. Too tight.
No, you can still do whatever you want.
Okay,
you can still you can build it however you want, but and they give you some options of different ways to do. But like, you've got
you can build whatever you want.
So you have like your sandbox island. What are you trying to do?
Just feeling how hot it is.
Oh, not very hot. It's probably like 80.
Because basically I reached for the teapot before I realized, like, why am I reaching for this teapot? And I'm like, well, now I have to think of something to do with the teapot.
Sorry, I said 80 degrees. 80 degrees Celsius. So the game ping-pongs you back and forth between, like, your sandbox island and the like story islands.
Yeah.
And so you take all of the things that you learned on each story island and you come back to the sandbox island and then you do like a little story bit of like everybody that you meet on that island is like really fucking excited to like start building. Like we thought builders were evil. We thought builders were horrible. We have all slowly learned that no, builders are sick. And so we want to learn to be builders. So they come up with all these ideas.
Sick in a good way.
Sick in a good way. Ill.
Ill in a good way.
Oh, fucking dirty.
They're bad.
They're bad. Wicked. So you get back to your sandbox island, and everybody's like, build this, build this, build this. Doesn't sound like a sandbox island very much right now, but they're having ideas on.
Okay, so you are structured by their requests.
At first, so you do like a little thing of like, we want a waterfall, we want a nice river, but maybe, and then, but they're mostly doing everything.
No,
for
see,
you.
that's the kind of structure that I like.
Yeah. So this is what I'm saying. That's why I'm explaining. So like, they tell you what they want. You do a little bit. They do a ton of the work. Because it's their first time building, they want to build. Mm-hmm. And like then once that is over, then you get like you can go out to the next island. Or you can stick around and do some sandbox building. And then that's where it starts to open up.
Worth pointing out for listeners, if you don't know what Dragon Quest Builders is, the big thing we skipped over is it's like you could reductively call it a Minecraft clone. It's basically like, what if Minecraft was more of a game?
Yeah. It's way more of a game.
And third person.
Yeah. And so the weakest point of the game is it does seem to have... It's harder to do...
The strongest point of that game is the lad colony.
Yes, it totally is. And
it's physically strong because they're so beefy.
Yeah, they're very beefy. It's a hunk town. So the weakest point of the game is that, like, They do spend a lot of the time telling you where to build, what sort of things to build.
Yeah.
There's not... Like, you can take as long as you want. After the first island where you are, like the second and third islands that you go to, you can go back to the sandbox island whenever you want.
Right.
You don't have to stay there. You can just like spend 30 hours doing sandbox shit if you wanted. Like following the path of the game, they do hold the leash a little bit tight. And I think that's the weakest part of the game. But the story is so fun and so like for lack of a better word, joyful. Like the game really is about like taking all these miserable people and being like, you don't only have to live in ruins and be miserable all the time. You can build a roof. You can build walls. Yeah, like you can fix the bar.
You could build a roof, but it's not that necessary.
Right, it's not.
The roof comes last.
Right, yeah. And like it's just so much fun like getting each person in each area to be like, oh, I guess builders aren't so bad. And then like, oh, I guess builders are the best thing ever. Mm-hmm. And it's just a very happy game.
Who is a companion party member you find early on who's like a girl? She's like a knight. And how does she talk? She talks funny. Kind of all the characters speak in a funny way.
Weird. They speak in like weird British. Yeah.
But
there's no knight that you meet early on.
There is.
No.
Yeah.
There was a girl that you meet early on, like Lily or something.
Yeah. Hey, that's probably what I'm talking about.
Pink hair?
Maybe. Well,
explain more. Sorry,
I wish, like, the thing was, I couldn't remember the way that she speaks. I just remember that I thought it was really funny, so I figured if I like, jogged your memory, you'd be like, oh yeah, this character, she says funny stuff like this, and I'd be like, yeah, I like that character, it's funny. Yeah, it was like a warrior you find at the beginning of the game, it's funny.
Is someone that you met early enough where you saw them in your game.
Yeah, I saw them in my game. They were like a warrior. It was funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who that is. I don't know what you're talking about.
Heather?
This is not ringing any bells for me.
I mean, it might have been an optional character. Maybe you missed this character. Maybe someone in the chat knows.
Here's the other thing. There's a ton of fucking characters in this game. There's a ton of characters. It is the opposite of Death Stranding.
Huh. Oh, weird. I don't even know. This is really strange. So I just Googled Dragon Quest Builders 2 Heather, and I got someone that was like, where the hell is the NPC you're supposed to meet in Chapter 2? And I'm like, yeah, that's Heather. And then the answer was like, oh, the problem was that her name is Hazel, but I was looking for Heather because that's what the name is in the Japanese version. I'm using a guide that was made from the Japanese version. Oh. Weird. Maybe I just...
Hazel.
This has no payoff, by the way.
I can't even... There's not even...
What the fuck?
There's not even an image of her.
This is unacceptable. What? Turns out I was playing a different game the whole time. Oh, another thing I like about Dragon Quest 2 was Builders 2 was like in Builders 1, you're by yourself the whole time, but it's just like that in Dragon Quest 1, the original Dragon Quest 1, you were by yourself the whole time. And then Dragon Quest 2 introduced your two party members, and they would follow you around everywhere, so you were a string of 3 people walking everywhere. And then Builders 2 does the same thing too, and it's fun to have your buddies following you. Malroth and Lily, I guess it was.
Kaito, that's your friend in Judgment.
It's not my friend.
So part of what's confusing me about your thing about the knight that talks funny, there is like a medieval island, and everyone there is a knight, and so there's a lot of knights.
Oh,
so like that's like so I'm like
that's
I'm
not
like,
what I mean.
Trying to think, I'm thinking of knights, and it's like there's a whole island of knights.
Knights in dreams.
But you haven't been there, so
no.
Anyway, but yeah, I Dragon Quest Builders 2. It's I think a rare game with like a very positive story that is like not grating.
Yeah, make you feel good.
Yeah. And it's not one note either. There's like some shit happening. But it's positive and it's fun. It's nice and fun. It's very fun to build and smash and build. It's one of the more fun times that I've had doing like a building game in the last decade.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hang on real quick. Do you remember when this game came out?
Dragon Quest?
July.
That sounds late.
Late? June?
Maybe June?
What the fuck?
What are you looking up?
Something super important. Something that's extremely important.
You're saying it in a way where maybe I should just move on to my next game.
I don't know that you should, though.
My number 4 game is...
Oh. Never mind. Go ahead.
What is it? How stupid was the thing you were looking at?
Well, no, it was that I knew that I had taken screenshots of this character that I'm thinking of like just a couple things she had said that I thought were funny, and I was like, I'm just gonna find it in my phone so that I could put this to rest about who this character was.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find it in my phone, and I realized I had it on Switch, so I probably just took screenshots on my Switch. I have my Switch with me if we want to check.
Maybe when we take a break.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Pokemon Sword.
Oh, Sword.
Sword.
Oh, Pokemon Sword.
Pokemon Sword.
You know what I'm referencing, right?
No.
Oh, no, it's Final Fantasy XIV Heaven's Word.
Oh, yes, I do, yeah.
I always thought it was Heaven's Ward, like the Ward of Heaven, but apparently it's Heaven's Word, like we're going towards the heavens.
That's funny. So, yes, Pokemon's Word and Pokemon's Wield. Or Healed.
Pokemon's Yield.
So, okay, here's the thing about this game. Do you play this at all?
No, I haven't played Pokemon Sword at all.
I actually don't know, so I can't tell if you're being sarcastic.
I got Shield.
Okay.
Yeah, I did my Nuzlocke.
Right, yes. Okay,
I got 2 whole badges in.
Pokemon's Word. The thing about this game is...
Question.
Yes.
When you said Pokemon Sword right now, were you doing a thing, or was that just how you meant to say it?
I was doing a thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, I guess I should start with why it's on my list.
Why is it on your list?
Who's the...
He wasn't ready for the trick questions.
Who's the fucking creator of Pokemon? Why can't I think of his name?
I don't know.
So one of the things that he said, he had a very Miyamoto thing.
John Pokemon.
John Pokemon.
Pokejohn.
John Pokemon had a very Miyamoto sort of thing that he said about why he came up with Pokemon as a game. It was like, well, when I was a kid, I lived in the forest.
It's not about the monsters we capture. It's about the monsters that capture our heart.
No, it's not about that. It was about catching grasshoppers in Tupperware.
Yeah, that he, when he was a kid, he liked collecting insects, and that was like the inspiration for Pokemon.
Yeah, like going in the forest and like catching bugs and little creatures and whatever. And that was the inspiration for Pokemon.
Which explains why Pokemon is so cruel, because you don't know when you're a kid, but collecting insects and keeping them in containers until they die is very cruel.
Well, it's not if you have a machine that turns them into data jail.
Has jail in the name.
Yeah, but it's better than dead.
It's in a computer. He lives in a computer at the hospital.
All-time good tweet of mine. And so if there's that, and then there's also the Pokemon anime, Pokemon is like a pop culture sensation in their own universe. Like, they watch Pokemon battles on TV.
Sure, yeah.
And I think that, like, the thing that first game had is it had, in a literal sense, it had, like, the discovery of, like, oh, what is this weird thing? Like, it's so hard to recapture, like, seeing a Clefairy for the first time. seeing the Pokemon for the first time and being like, I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how good its special attack is. Like, when you see a Clefairy, now you're like, oh, Clefairy, that knows Metronome, and it has, like, good, it has high special defense. Or whatever.
Yeah, sure. That thing we all know about Clefairy.
I don't know.
I know.
Pick a better one. Geodude, you know, it has high defense and then it's immune to electricity. Or whatever.
I will say I
know something about the Pokemon.
I'm not deep enough into Pokemon to know what stats Pokemons are good at.
I don't know all of them, but I know some of them, especially, you know, the earlier Pokemon. I have a better idea. Like, fire Pokemon tend to have higher special attack because most of the good fire moves are special moves, you know, stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. But then it also had the abstraction of the gyms where there's it abstracted as best as it could on a fucking Game Boy in the mid 90s, like going to a gym, battling the like junior trainers, battling the gym leader. He gives you a medal. And I think like the new Pokemon game for the first time in forever has like made progress on that abstraction in terms of like making
it feel less abstract.
Right, yeah. And it's like, okay, we're now fucking decades away from that first Pokemon game, and it's the first time since the first one that it's made progress in like you're in a stadium, there's people cheering for you. There's like they're chanting.
Yeah,
like,
the
feels like there's stakes to those people.
Yeah, the stadium stuff I think is probably, I wasn't sure about the gyms being stadiums when I first heard about it, but yeah, like it totally works.
Yeah. And then like it does a really good job of having a bunch of new Pokemon that I don't know, like not having as heavy of a mix of old Pokemon mixed in with the new ones.
Sure.
Where it's like I spent a lot of that game. I spent the entirety of that game with like almost totally new gen Pokemon.
They did that with Diamond and Pearl. I feel like no one remembers that, but
no, I don't remember.
Diamond and Pearl's thing was there were no old Pokemon in it until you beat the Elite Four.
But like old like Gen 1?
No, there were no previously designed Pokemon in it. But like just the Pokemon in it weren't that interesting that I remember. Though I think that's
also like
I think that's where not Skitty.
Skitty? Delcatty?
I mean, I love Skitty. Actually, Skitty might have been from there. Who's the blue thing that's like not really a cat, but it's sort of like a cat dog with the blue electricity.
Cat dog. The blue and the black?
Blue and the black.
Shinx?
Yeah. Fucking love Shinx.
And something, and then Luxray?
Yeah. Love Shinx.
Shinx is great. Yeah, Shinx is like an electricity cat or something.
It's called Shinx, so it must be a cat.
Yeah. Named after the famous cat, Shinx.
Yeah. It's obviously a pun based on Blinks, the Time Sweeper, the time-traveling cat.
Yeah, it's a Blinks that will shock you. Shinx. Shocking Blinks.
Boom.
Yeah.
Shocking Blinks.
And then I don't know, it's a little bit bittersweet. Like I look at the game and I'm like, wow, they made a lot of progress bringing this game into what it should have looked like 7 years ago.
Yeah, I'll say like I had fun. I totally had fun with this game. It's not like I didn't enjoy my time with it, but I played it Nuzlocke, and I felt like the Nuzlocke did a lot of the heavy lifting, especially as I've come to hear maybe the biggest complaint about this game being that it's way too easy.
It's way too easy.
The original name of the Nuzlocke thing was Pokemon Hard Mode, and like that's just what Pokemon needs at this point.
Yeah,
like I get it. Like Game Freak has a really tough job. They have to appeal to the super hardcore fans that are into EVs and IVs and all this shit. Then you need to appeal to little kids who have never played a Pokemon game before, and you also need to appeal to the people in the middle who are like me, where it's like I've been playing Pokemon my whole life, but I'm still kind of like a casual Pokemon fan.
Yeah. and then I'm somewhere in between you and someone that's dumb.
Yeah.
I'm
You're the perfect amount. You're not.
I'm exactly
you haven't wasted your life, and you haven't. You're not a casual loser.
I know more than an idiot, but less than a moron.
So that's. We're talking about like Jeff Ramsey's unified theory of achievement points, which is that the only acceptable achievement point score to have is the exact one you have, because anyone who has less is a casual who's not serious about games, and anyone who has more is a loser who wastes their life.
Yeah. But so. Yeah, one of the problems with the game, it doesn't do a good job of catering to both of those audiences. It made the game too easy, which Pokemon has always been a kids game, and those first Pokemon games are not easy for kids to play.
Every Pokemon game is really easy. Mm-hmm. It's a game where the only punishment for losing is waking up at the hospital and going back to where you were. Yeah. There's no stakes from the get-go.
Yeah. And it was not a game that needed to be made easier for kids.
No.
But that's the thing. I don't think it was made easier for kids. I think it was made easier for people who don't want to spend time grinding in a Pokemon game.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's they totally reduced the grinding, and it's it turns out that was the only place any kind of difficulty was coming from.
Right.
They didn't make it easier. Yeah, you're right. They just took out the grinding, and it just made the game easier.
Right. And it's yeah, grinding is stupid and boring, and a lot of people don't like Pokemon enough to grind.
I don't want them to add more, to be clear. Exactly. That's not what I'm complaining about.
They took it out without compensating in any way.
Right.
And then they also, they at least took out too much, maybe a little more grinding to make it a little bit less super easy. I was 10 to 12 levels over-leveled for every gym without even trying.
This is what I would say is the thing I don't... So I've always felt that Pokemon was too slow. That was X and Y especially was just this is so slow.
Yeah.
And I think it's too many forced battles, trainers that you have to fight. And then just everything about the movement of your character and the, in-game animations and all that stuff, it's just all way slower than it needs to be. I felt they could have sped that up. Because the stuff, it's not really grinding, but the stuff that feels like a bummer is when you're just trying to get from one place to another, and it's random encounters are slowing you down, trainers are slowing you down, and it feels I'm not choosing to do these, they're being foisted? Foisted?
Hoisted?
Foisted?
Hoisted.
Foisted.
Hoisted.
Foisted.
Forced? Forcibly hoisted?
Forcibly hoisted.
I think it's foisted.
Yeah. Foist. Impose an unwelcome or unnecessary person or thing on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have these things foisted upon you. I think an acceptable kind of grind would be if you went to a gym, fought the gym leader, and just got smoked and was oh, I'm not even close to being ready for this person. And then, whatever. Then you go back and train up. And then it feels yes, it's grinding, but it feels there's a purpose. Whereas I felt previous Pokemon games, the problem wasn't grinding. The problem was just unnecessary roadblocks or whatever. Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah. And so the game's too easy, but what it felt like to me was a game that was for people who liked Pokemon.
To get down.
No, liked Pokemon when they were kids, and seeing it's on a Switch now. Oh, look at this! You can run around like it's a real fucking game, and let me just burn through this Pokemon game.
Yeah,
and just play a Pokemon game. Maybe that's I think it was the ideal audience. But I did really enjoy the the stadiums. I feel being in a stadium breathed some life by having less of an abstraction between what the anime promises and what the game delivers.
Sure.
And I think having a lot of interesting new Pokemon that I actually used for the first time in forever, like I had a bunch of new Pokemon in my party, like that was really fun. I don't like that it was so easy. I don't like that they simplified the plot a lot.
Yeah.
They took away a whole aspect of the plot where like, and to be fair, it's usually a terrible plot too. It's usually like
I've never liked the plot.
The
of the
team.
game.
There's some new team, and they're actually good and have a lot of good ideas, but they're villains, so they want to do it in a horrible way.
Yeah.
And you have to stop them. You have to stop them from. You have to stop them from stopping Pokemon slavery by like destroying the Earth or something stupid. And instead, they had a really funny joke where you have this like really aggressive team yell.
Yeah.
But really, they're just like cheering for this little girl from their town.
They're Pokemon soccer hooligans.
Right, exactly. But they're also pretty nice. They're not even that rowdy. Yeah. Like, it was a funny joke, and I thought they were nice. I thought it was funny. But, like, I wish that there was more story there, I guess. But, like, whatever. Like, mostly I just like playing through this Pokemon game. I thought the last few Pokemon games kind of blew.
Yeah. I've never been in it for the story. Like, even when I was 8 playing, like, Pokemon Red and Blue for the first time, I thought, like, all the Team Rocket stuff was a big chore. I'm like, oh, now I have to go through the thing underneath the game center or their hideout. Yeah, well, and I got to go through Silphco now.
I think that stuff got better, though. It got, like, better with, like, Diamond and Pearl and Black and White. And
I'll say now, though, as an adult looking back, understanding the reference of why Team Rocket has a layer underneath the game center is really fun. I'm like, oh, because like organized crime and gambling. Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
I'll say I enjoyed it. You know, it's so tough because I do genuinely like Pokemon. It's not like I didn't enjoy my time with this game. It's not on my list. But I feel like more than anything, it's like Pokemon is just a series that just makes me mad. And I hate that. You know, like it makes, or not just that it makes me mad, it makes me feel like a jerk. You know what I mean? Like, it makes me feel unpleasable, and I hate that feeling, but it's like, because every Pokemon game almost everyone, genuinely improves upon the games that came before it,
but
and I still play it. I still play it and go, not nearly enough, fuck this. Like, I like Pokemon Sword and Shield, but I'm still kind of just like, yo, catch me when the whole game is the wild area. You know?
I liked having the sort of like puzzly, navigate-y, old school style areas also. And I kind of feel like the wild area was a flat soda. But I do know what you mean. Like when I first got there, I was like, wow, like look at what Pokemon is now.
I mean, like I get what you mean. It's like there is ultimately not much going on in the wild area.
Yeah.
But that's why I feel like it's that much more important for the game to just be that. Because it's like, because they made this whole Pokemon game that has nothing to do with the wild area, and then they made the most interesting thing that a Pokemon game's ever done. It just sits there. It has nothing going on in it. Yeah. It's like you need to bring the game on the outside and put it in there. You need to put the carbonation of the actual game into the flat soda of the wild area.
Something I would like to see. Yeah, I would like to see more wild area stuff. Actually do something with it so it's not a flat soda. I would like to see like you see the Pokemon walking around, and you're like, Pokemon walking around, look at that, they noticed me, whatever. Yeah. And it's like, that's so, like, I'm running, and I push up, and my character, I can move around like a character in a video game, in a Pokemon game. Wow.
The moment in this game where I was really floored, before I realized it's actually not that important, was, because I was doing Nuzlocke, and, the thing is, the first Pokemon you encounter, is the only Pokemon you can catch in an area. And apparently most people who are doing Nuzlocks of this game, is the rule they're going by is the first Pokemon you see, you just have to run straight for it and encounter them. I think that totally blows and like ignores what's great about Sword and Shield.
It's totally incongruous with what the nature of a Pokemon encounter is. Because it's the random encounter. You are encountered by a Pokemon.
Yeah. Well, but essentially in this game, there is still random encounters, but not to that extent. But anyways, what I loved, though, is I realized I went into the tall grass, And I realized that if you just push the analog stick a little bit, your character would sneak, and the Pokemon wouldn't notice you. And I'm like, oh shit! Like now Pokemon Nuzlocke is like a stealth game because you have to like stealth through these areas and not get caught by the Pokemon. But then I kind of realized, like, actually, you can mostly just run and it's fine. And also, I think if you sneak, you don't get the random encounters.
Yeah, I think you're right. And they're not really random because the grass shakes, but you just can't see what's in there.
Oh, sure.
But it's like, because you can see a Pokemon, you can choose who you're going to encounter.
Yeah.
Unless you do run over something by accident, and then you do have to do that.
Yeah.
So,
oh, dude. Like, the moment I almost quit the Pokemon Nuzlocke and almost just went like, it's just a regular playthrough, was I was in the wild area, and I snuck all the way around through this, like, up and around, not encountering any Pokemon, because I'm like, I don't want my one wild area Pokemon. It's divided into multiple areas. I ended up doing that. But what happened was I went to a berry tree and shook the tree, and some berries came out, and it was like, you want to shake the tree again? And I was like, sure. And more berries came out. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you want to shake the tree again? I was like,
stupid squirrel.
Yes. And then a squirrel dropped out of the tree on my head. And not only was it a stupid squirrel, it was a stupid squirrel that was over leveled and killed one of my Pokemon and almost killed another one. And I was like, yo, fuck this game.
Oh my god. Stupid squivit or something.
Yeah. So now, see, these two anecdotes I just gave you, they were great moments that were really compelling.
Yeah.
But they were all created by an outside rule set that I was imposing on the game.
Right. I'm sold on Nuzlocke, so you don't have to tell.
Oh, I know.
I mean, but okay, so I had something else that I was going to say about the wild area. Oh, so the first time I saw like a big fucking Pokemon walking around, like, this is very cool.
Yeah.
But what I want to see is like,
but also
make
like
them
once,
behave.
Yeah, like once you spend more than a couple minutes in the wild area, you just realize, like,
they just walk around.
Yeah, that's just what it is like, there's just strong Pokemon that walk down the paths, and then you don't go near them.
They don't
and
feel like they live there.
Right, yeah.
The closest I got was, like, I saw there was like some grass with like 5 Machokes just running around.
Yeah, I've seen that like GIFs on Twitter and stuff.
Okay, and they just like run up and they just like stand in the way so you can't touch the grass. That's
really funny.
Yeah. I tweeted it out with a picture. I was like, "This is big boy grass. Big boy grass is for big boys only." Like, it was the only time where I felt like any Pokemon cared about their space.
Yeah.
These Machokes running and like fucking big timing me so that I wouldn't touch their grass. It's like five beefy men in Speedos that live on this patch of grass. So funny.
You know what they should do? Because you know how like so much of their development cost and time has to go into designing, modeling, and animating 150 new fucking Pokemon every game.
Yeah.
Take a game off. Make a Pokemon game where you don't add any new Pokemon. You just make the game sick.
That's part of what was making fucking like Pokemon weirdos so mad this time.
Yeah,
is they took out the national decks so that they wouldn't have to do all that. So they half did that.
Well, from what I'm hearing, and there's no clear. There's not a lot of clear information on the sorts of decisions that went into this. But what I also heard was that part of it was like a game balance thing, where it's like, we're taking out Nidoking. Nidoking's too powerful. All the competitive people just always have Nidoking on their team. It's boring. Nidoking, sit it the fuck out this time.
I mean,
which sucks because Nidoking rules.
There's no Arcanine in my party. This Arcanine is in my party 100% of the time. Nidoking's in my party 90% of Pokemon games. I didn't have either of those. I think the only old gen Pokemon that I had was Gengar.
Gotcha. Who
was also always in my party. But maybe not by the end. Maybe I took Gengar out. I can't remember.
Another thing, this really is a thing you should keep in mind anytime there's any kind of fan outrage online, but especially this Pokemon game. A lot of these people are children. Like, I remember reading this like big angry post from somebody who was so mad about this thing. Yeah. That's good. Someone was like, this sucks because, to clarify, every other Pokemon game that's ever come out, you could bring in your old Pokemon from the previous game into this one. So you can't transfer a Pokemon directly from Pokemon Blue to Pokemon Sun and Moon, but there are incremental steps. Like you can move it to Silver, and then there's a way to get it to Sapphire, and there's a way to get that to Diamond.
I think Sapphire can go directly to Sun. I think
possibly something like that. And so like if you're willing to go through it, some people have like Pokemon they've been raising. I mean, it probably got to level 100 pretty quickly, but people have had these Pokemon since original Pokemon, and now they're mad they can't transfer it into their Sun and Moon.
If it can't get into my new Pokemon game, it's dead. If it has to live on last year's game, it's dead now.
Yeah, like, so I read this thing that was just like, I've been bringing my Pokemon with me ever since I played Pokemon Diamond when I was 6. I was like, oh, you're a baby. And I realized, like, however the math works out, it was like this person was 16 years old now.
Yeah.
And it's like, so just keep it in mind, like, Pokemon is an all-ages franchise.
True, but, like, also some of these people are 20 and some of them are 25. Some of them are my age. Some of them are older than me.
Yeah. That also that.
Yeah. So it's, like, hard to, it's hard to tell and maybe not even important.
Yeah. But
if the 16-year-olds are being just as much assholes as the 28-year-olds.
Exactly. It's like, I can kind of have some sympathy for, like, well, if your thing has been bringing your favorite Pokemon forward since the first Pokemon game 21 years ago, yeah, that does suck that they're changing that. But, like, if you've only been playing since Pokemon Diamond, fuck off. Who cares?
Yeah.
Hey, life lesson, kid. Life's tough. Sometimes you don't get to bring your Pokemon forward. Let it go.
Some people don't even have backwards compatible PS3s.
Damn.
Yeah.
But every PS3 can play PS1 games.
Too young to even have had a PS2, so.
It's fucked up.
Yeah. I never had a PS2, though.
You have one now.
Cheers. That's your PS2.
There's no PS2 over there.
Oh, your your little bluebie?
It's at my house.
Okay.
I thought you had one. I think there was a time you were talking about buying one, and you like went on eBay and you're like, these are still like $80. Forget it, or something like that.
Yeah, probably.
It's Pokemon.
That's Pokemon?
That's Pokemon.
Okay. Okay. Number 3, Disco Elysium. For me. Number 3, Disco Elysium.
Oh, whoops! I didn't add Pokemon's word. Let's take 5
minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hours. I was thinking hours. We come back at 11:30.
Yeah, sure.
Come back at midnight.
I'm gonna
quick 5, everybody! Quick 5. Quick 5.
I'm gonna mute the mic. I'm gonna put a coming back soon thing up.
Back soon.
Back soon. Okay, we're back.
Yeah, we're back. We're back. I've got my second wind. You know, I was feeling a little
Second wind.
Yeah, right. Because I was feeling little logy, feeling a little like I didn't have much in the tank. I needed a second wind, and I got it in the form of his red wine. Red wine.
Kylie texted me and was like, "Do you have alcohol at your house?" Which is a rare question for her to ask me. And it's also like only a 20% chance that the answer is yes.
Really? I feel like you always have something.
No. It's been like sort of the holiday season, so I've had wine more often. And the last time I saw you was a holiday party where I brought wine to it. But I typically don't have alcohol like in the house. I do.
Keeps a booze hound.
I do. When I drink, I go to my friend's bar to drink, pretty much. But I.
This is how you hold a wine glass. Is this the recommended way? How do you hold a wine glass? Everyone does it differently.
So
is that what you're supposed to do?
I prefer stemless, and you hold it just up where the liquid isn't. Yeah, like up there.
Why? Well, because it doesn't warm up the wine.
But actually, you're drinking red wine, and it's technically at a slightly lower temperature than what some snooty person might say is ideal.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, you're supposed to hold it by the stem. That's why it's there. Some people hold it by the base like that. This is a really weird way to do it, but that's what some people do.
That's extremely weird.
It is extremely weird. You're not really supposed to hold it by the bowl when there's a stem. Typically, this is the nicer ones, and the stem is the bowl is really thin, so you could break it just by holding it. It's fucking stupid.
Ultimately, that is why wine glasses have stems.
You also
you can
just swirl it,
so you can hold it without putting your hand on the glass.
Yep.
Okay.
Totally.
Mystery solved. I always just thought it was like aesthetic.
Yeah.
I could never tell if holding it by the stem was like wrong.
No, stem is right. Yeah.
All right.
Easier to swirl. That's the other thing. You want to swirl it so you can get those.
Oh, you gotta swirl it.
Well, you get those nice smells.
Yeah, all the smells. Grapes and alcohol.
I guess it's a little yeasty.
I don't know what yeast smells like.
Woody. You know what yeast smells like?
No.
Well, there's different kinds of yeast, and they smell different.
Where's that? Can I see Audacity recording? Did our recording die 8 years ago?
No, it's right there.
Oh, so it's right there.
Yeah. I'm going to turn me up a little bit.
I'm going to turn me up a little bit.
No, you good.
No, I'm turning myself up. I'm up here now.
And I'm up here now. That was too much. But now I'm back down to normal. We're talking about video games still, or are we talking about wine still? What is happening?
Tell me about your third favorite game of the year.
Disco Elysium. I love this game. I thought it was really great. It's hard to know where to start because there's so much. Almost everything that happens in the game is something about the game.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, it's mostly words.
Disco Elysium is a game in which is a top-down isometric game in which you play a detective who wakes up after some kind of drunken, drug-fueled bender and remembers literally nothing, even anything about himself or the world in which he inhabits.
Yeah, he remembers language.
He can speak.
He doesn't remember facts about the world. From the government that he lives under to the job that he has to his own name. He doesn't know what money is. So facts, but then also like his own life. Like he doesn't remember where he was the day before or a week ago or a month ago or who the people in his life are or how they feel about him or how he feels about them. And I would say that amnesia stories are fairly common. But I think this never felt like an amnesia story in the same way.
It's not because of the... So, surprise, this game's on my list. It's number 7. I didn't play it that much, but I really liked it.
Cool.
I didn't play any more of it since the last time we talked. When
I actually don't remember.
I was just like, oh, I only played like a few hours. I want to play more of it. And you were like, you should play more of it before Game of the Year. And I was like, I will. And then I didn't.
Okay.
I actually haven't played. I haven't played like any games at all in like the last 2 weeks. Back on my Gunpla bullshit. Back in that Gunpla game, baby.
I feel like you play more games in the Game of the Year season than you than your average. So you're way out of your depth here.
Yeah. I did
out of your depth? No. You're not acting typically.
I'm not acting typically.
Mm-hmm.
Though I did get my list basically locked in way earlier than normal. Mm-hmm. So that was the other thing. And also I have the Dabble stuff going on and trying to sort out my feelings about Evangelion into cogent things I can repeat into a microphone for a podcast ended up taking up way more of my mental bandwidth than I expected.
Unbelievable.
But in a great way. I still really but I basically spent a month just thinking about Evangelion and not really doing much else, and somehow didn't come away from it being like, I hate this show. I don't know. So in Disco Elysium, the reason that the amnesia thing isn't as much, the reason it doesn't feel as trite as it usually does in other stories is wine. Maybe a little too much wine too fast.
4 sips of wine.
Notorious lightweight. Me.
Yeah.
What's interesting about it, because I just basically the thing I'm stumbling over is I don't know how to explain this like weird like interiority party, like character party that you have in this game, where essentially your personality and your internal thoughts are essentially like personified as characters that are like in your head and that will chime in and tell you things. So like if you so like this,
it's like so they are literally characters, right? They have each of these skills have personalities, but it really is just like, imagine if you were conflicted and you're like giving yourself pros and cons in your head, but like what if they were named volition and authority?
Yeah, like so authority is a great example because that one has like the most clear like role, I feel like, of most of these things, where it's like
volition 2 is a pretty clear one.
That one I just don't remember. But like authority, it's like, and they all have images that go around. Like authority is like a guy wearing like Roman laurels on his head, and he is like, you know, it's framed upwards, so he's like looking down at you, and it'll just be a thing where like maybe you're talking to somebody and this person's like giving you the runaround, and then like authority will chime in and be like, you know, stop dealing with this, you know, like put your foot down, and then
kick this person.
Yeah, it's like, you know, like this person's an asshole, like tell them to get to the point, and then you can either choose to listen to authority or not.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, the skills, which tend to be personality traits, are like even like your hand-eye coordination will sometimes talk to you, not in the same way or the same frequency that like conceptualization or volition or rhetoric will talk to you, but like so like your hand-eye coordination is basically when your hand-eye coordination is the relevant thing in processing something that you've seen or have done. That's when hand-eye coordination as a character will chime in with the thing that it says.
Right. Or what we. To get back to the way I started, like getting into this idea, was that the thing about all this that makes the amnesia not feel trite and like it's well-worn territory is the fact that you're like, when you start the game, you will, you know, like any classic RPG, it's a CRPG, computer RPG. I think the C in CRPG now is said to mean classic, but it was originally computer.
Oh, I've never even heard it to mean classic.
Oh, okay. It's computer then.
It's computer.
You know, you allocate skill points into a couple different categories, and then there are a bunch of these internal characters that fall into each of those 4 categories. And so if you put a bunch of points into like conceptualization and what's the one with like the book head? You know what I mean?
Encyclopedia.
Bookhead.
They have like
it has a book on its head.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, they each one of them has like art that is associated with them.
Yeah.
It's like their portrait.
Yeah, and so if you put enough points into that at the start of the game, then your character will encounter a person they're not familiar with and go, "Who's this person?" But then Encyclopedia will chime in and be like, "This is who this person is," or they'll be like, "This is a detail about the organization you're a part of that you're not remembering."
Yeah,
it's like
Encyclopedia will tell you something literally about them, a fact about them,
right?
But conceptualization might tell you who you feel they are, like as a person, like
okay,
broad. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, and this is sort of the point that I was trying to make, where it's like, none of them, they might disagree, but they're not lying to you. They're like how the different parts of you have different ideas about the world.
Right.
Like, and the game is sort of conducted by what you think you might need to live in the world. That's where you put your points. And then how the story reveals itself to you is how you ordered those points. So, like, I had low authority, and so it didn't come up very often that someone was authority was telling me, like, this person is fucking with you, you should, like, do something bad to them. I had points in volition, and volition was like, this person's having a really hard time right now.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, you control the skills, but the skills conduct the game according to how those characters see the world.
Yeah. It's so interesting because it's totally not a game like, I don't know, say Mass Effect or something, where it's like, where it just presents things to you and leaves it to you to decide what your shepherd thinks about anything that's happening. Like, it does kind of like, your character has a cognition that's separate from your own, but I lost the second half of where I was going with this. Damn it.
It's not like Mass Effect.
It's not like Mass Effect, but it doesn't feel like you're just reading the internal monologue, like as if you were reading a book that was written in first person. Like, it doesn't feel like that either. It feels like you have a cabinet, you know, that like you come into a situation and then you have like your entourage that will like will talk at you, and you can decide who to listen to or who to ignore.
Right. Yeah.
By the way, very compelling way to go through a story.
Yeah. By the way, the number one friend in video games this year is Kim.
Kim Kitsuragi.
Kitsuragi. Yeah, your partner.
Yeah, that guy's pretty good.
I love him. He just gets better and better and better.
Yeah, he's your partner that you meet up with, and he's very like straight-laced,
super straight-laced.
Like, has no time for your bullshit, because your character by definition is like a drugged out, like, loser kind of mess, a drugged out mess.
Right, total mess. Like, unbelievable. If you haven't played this game, if you haven't heard people talk about this game, you won't believe how much of a mess this character is.
Yeah.
And
so that's the thing. I feel like,
but Kim is not an idiot. He's a really smart guy. And so when he sees that you are doing detective work, he's like, all right, like, it's going. We're doing it. So, like, he's not a road, even though he's straight-laced and he doesn't have time for your shit.
Well, that's the thing.
He also isn't a roadblock.
Yeah, he's straight-laced, but he's not necessarily a by-the-book kind of guy. Or like, it's not like,
well, part of the book is solve the thing.
Right, exactly.
And you're doing that. You are doing that.
Right, it's that, what I mean is, like, it's not that he's like a foil for your character because he's so rigid about how you're supposed to exist in the world as a detective. It's more just that he's so focused on doing the job that you're there to do, that it's like even if you're a mess, if the job is getting done, he's not going to comment.
But he responds to you in a really natural way, where, like, he is a little bit afraid of you. He's a little bit concerned for you.
Right.
But he also pities you and also is a little bit charmed by you sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, and it's very natural.
Yeah,
and like you can play a much scarier character than I played, and I think I would have a much different Kim than I got.
Right, probably. And again, I didn't get very basically like with this game. I had like one Saturday where I spent most of my time playing this game, so like I didn't get that far. Like maybe
Yeah,
like
and it's tough. It's hard to say like, where are you because the beginning of the game is so open. Like there's a lot of things that you can do at the start. Like there's a dead body hanging in the backyard, but you kind of can't deal with that for a while.
Right.
Because it's stinky, it makes you puke because you're hungover.
Oh, right. Like there was no in my time playing the game, there was no more like satisfying and pleasing moment than like when I defied Kim's expectations. Like when I made Kim approve of me, I was just like, yes,
yeah.
My buddy sees me and he doesn't hate me.
Kim is the best, and Kim is part of, I think, a really interesting world that they've made. It's a small map. There's a lot of characters in it, and there's a lot of things to do and things to see. And it's like, it's a world that is very honest.
Do you want to talk about the setting?
Sure. So you are in, this is a made up place.
Yeah.
This is a
totally fake world.
Fake world.
Meant to be
allegorical.
Yeah. It is the real world, but just different countries, different ethnicities.
It seems like, like a mid-70s. It seems like like it seems like our mid-70s is where they are. We're a few decades away from a successful communist revolution that was then destroyed by a coalition of libertarians and liberals, like a liberal world order, like NATO, EU, United States, sort of alliance, destroyed the communist revolution, swiftly and forcefully.
You hate to see it.
They hate to see it. Betrayed by the fucking. That's not mine. Betrayed by the ultra liberals who are like this sort of. It's tough. It's hard to get an exact sense. They're sort of like libertarians. They're sort of like free market capitalists who were in some way aligned with the communists for a while. I never got a clear sense of why that was. And you're in a part of the world that has been abandoned by essentially this country is like now ruled by this liberal coalition, whose name I can't remember right now, actually.
I don't remember.
But you're in a part that has been ignored.
Basically, you're in this like European city that like is like bombed out. It has like bullet holes and craters
from
all
the
over
war,
it
from the old war.
From the war. Yeah, like from like 30 years ago.
This was like this city on a hill.
Yeah,
it used to be amazing.
Your character is just like, hey, what's with all these bullet holes? And everyone's like, what are you, fucking idiot?
And so it's an area of the world that has been ignored by the liberal coalition that like basically has installed a faux democracy, and so has been taken over by a militant union, shipping union.
See, I didn't even get far enough to meet the union,
but they set them up pretty early.
Yeah,
They essentially say this mercenary was killed. We think it was the Union. The Union is basically admitted to doing it, but you've got to go and investigate and figure out like what happened.
Yeah.
And so that's the setup. And so one of the immediate impressions that you get,
and you are not necessarily like a police officer in the way that we think of it. They're like it's like some kind of like. It's like a cross between like a volunteer police force. It's like a volunteer detective force, essentially.
Yeah, they are like, they have only as much authority as the different municipalities recognize, but they call themselves cops. They carry guns. It's
not. It's just a very interesting scenario. It's kind of it gives this very interesting glimpse into like a place where its institutions were like like the pillars that upheld its institutions were ripped away, but like decades ago. Yeah. So it's like things are settled. Like there is like a way the world works, but it's not one that like living in America that we were used to seeing it. But it's like,
and in the spot where the game takes place in this small part of this town, it works even less than usual.
Right. So it's interesting because it's like,
or sorry, that's maybe not fair. It works differently because they have their own cops. It's just like it's vigilante union workers. They're policed by the union. That's how it goes.
It's just interesting because it's like you are a cop and the characters do think of themselves that way, but you don't have the authority that like police have. Like if someone doesn't cooperate with you, it's not like you can put them in jail.
You can't arrest them. You can give them a summons to appear at the police station.
Right. Do they have to?
Unclear? They have to, says the group of people that can't do anything about it.
Right.
All they can do is give you another slip, I guess. Kim talked about there was some consequence to not going, but I can't remember what it was. But I think part of the problem is that in Revachol, where you are, in that part of the town, like the...
Welcome to Revachol.
like... The part of the problem is they don't give a shit about you or your authority.
Right.
They care about the union.
Yeah.
And so, like, how are you going to find the guilty party if the guilty party just like, no, I'm not arrested.
Yeah.
But so immediately, I think part of what you see in this world is that it is miserable here.
Right.
And I think they set out to show you that really early on because it's true, but also because they spend the rest of the game trying to then reconvince you of the opposite thing. And I don't think you've gotten to a lot of this, but this is a game that deeply cares, or at least can deeply care. I have a lot of points in empathy. This is a game that can deeply care about all of the people in it.
Yeah.
And be very understanding about who people are, how they got to where they at, and like
how they got to where they at.
How they got to where they at, and like what people do for each other, I guess. Mm-hmm. Like friends and family, etc., and community. The game is both deeply cynical, but also shockingly not cynical. Like it's hard to, and it's like it's different things at different times.
I don't know that I would. Well, from what I saw, again, I'm not that far in. This is of the games on my list. This one I've played the least. But like I just put on the list because I was just like I could tell this game rules. Like I don't have like
this game is so good.
I want to play further. I don't have to play further to know that it should be listed as one of the 10 best games of the year. What really strikes me about this game is like this game is written from a perspective that just it sees so much, right? Like it's like you say, it is a miserable world. But not in the way that we're used to seeing depicted in games, where it's like you might go to a place and it's like depicted as like everyone in this city is gonna die of starvation tomorrow. Like life is like,
it is not miserable the way Outer Worlds is miserable.
It is a game that understands that human life persists through misery in ways that are often hard to even spot. Like it's like you have to walk around a city and talk to everybody to really get a sense of like how bad things are, because you just kind of look out and just like it's like the city, I guess.
Well, I don't know. The first place I went was the fucking backyard with Kuno, and that's a pretty fucking some of the roughest shit in the whole game.
Kuno,
probably.
That's an interesting character, but again, like that is you can tell from the writing of this kid Kuno that like this game feels for Kuno.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
totally.
this game does not blame Kuno for being the way he is. It also doesn't seem to be very pleased with Kuno for being the way he is.
Yeah.
This, like, there's I ran into, like, the two old men playing, like, bocce or, whatever thing that is.
The fascist and his, like, liberal friend.
Yeah, you have this fascist guy who still wears his military uniform from, like, when they crushed the revolution, and talks a lot about...
Actually, I think the war he fought in was before he lost. He lost to the communists. Yes.
And then, was just a civilian in watching that regime be put down by this coalition that came in.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because it's like, you can tell, like, the writers, like, understand this kind of person and do see him more as a complete person than you might see in other games where it's like, he is just this shitty guy who kind of hates everybody and is still wearing his military uniform.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like...
There's an unironic, like, sadness about him.
Right.
Like, the game feels sad that he is the way that he is.
Exactly, right? It's like, the game doesn't like this person.
Right.
But it understands how a person comes to be that way.
Right.
And this person is kind of, like, again, like, not feeling bad for this person, but you can tell that there's, like... You understand this person's perspective in, like, an empathetic way when you talk to them, because he talks about how, like what was lost in, like, the suzerains, like, being taken out of power, and, like, you can tell that, like, it comes from this place of, like, feeling like where he got his sense of importance in life was from the regality or whatever of the nation that he lived in, and he feels like that's gone
some
now.
monarchist bullshit.
Yeah, and again, it is bullshit.
But his sadness is real, and the game's not poking fun. It is poking fun at him a little bit. The game is like, it's like this guy's a piece of shit, and the game doesn't hide away from that, but it also isn't making fun that he's sad, or it's like, it is very well tread. The line that they're walking is very fine, and they do a good job of it most of the time.
I'm also remembering, I don't know how to tie this into a point that I'm making, but I do really like, it's like a great detail of showing how, like, the way that he perceives the world and the way that he interacts with the world, in that, like, he keeps berating his friend. He's complaining to his friend when you come up. No, when you come to him, he's complaining to his friend because his friend keeps making pained noises every time his friend bends over to, like, inspect the game pieces that they're playing with. They're playing some kind of game where they're
playing Boule.
They're playing Boule. Is that a real game?
Yeah, Boule is bocce. Boule is French bocce.
Oh, okay.
Bocce is played with Boule, which is the word ball in French.
Gotcha.
But Boule is like a category of games. It's like petanque. Actually, I think they're literally playing petanque.
Okay.
But petanque is played with Boule balls. Boules.
Mandy Petankin.
Boule, because you don't pronounce that.
So his friend has to bend over down to the ground to measure, something with, like, a measuring tape to see how close the balls are or whatever. And he keeps making these, like, pained noises when he bends over. And so this, like, fascist guy is complaining to his friend, like, oh, you keep complaining every time you have to bend over to measure, this stuff. But his friend has chronic back pain. Both of these people are, like, in their 70s.
Yeah,
this guy
old.
Who's complaining doesn't have any back pain, but he's also not helping. He's just giving his friend shit to him, like, he feels like his friend is making a big show out of what, like, he's not interpreting his friend's pain, his friend's noises as pain that he's dealing with but getting through, which actually is what's happening. His friend isn't saying, fuck you, come help me. His friend is just making a noise. But to this fascist, from his perspective, he is like, why are you making a show of this? Why are you trying to get me to feel bad for you? Like, we all have problems, just deal with your problems. And he's not seeing that is exactly what his friend is doing. He's also not helping his friend.
Right, yeah. This guy sucks.
This guy sucks.
This guy sucks.
He sucks, but he was so much more of an interesting person who sucks than I have found in like so many other games.
And I think that part of it comes back to like the way that this game is constructed. It is impossible not to notice that like the game is not it is abstracting. It is abstracting the world in a different way. It's not pretending that people don't have ideologies and things that they believe and perspectives that they're coming from. Like the characters are written as people who like believe things like how people are.
Yeah.
And it's impossible not to notice with everybody that you talk to that they have consistent opinions about stuff, which is rare in writing. A lot of times, like, you know, we've talked before, I think, about, like, one of the things that, like, serial TV drama does poorly that really bothers me is that, like, they'll just have a character do what they need to do to make the plot move forward.
Right.
And it's something that I really appreciate about a lot of comedies where the plot moves forward because of characters honestly interacting according to how they would behave. And this is a game that takes the principle of like characters behave consistently because of their people, and it also applies like also people are political and they have, you know, decades and decades of experience of living in a world and they act according to that experience. Right. And so it creates a lot of really interesting characters. And some of those characters, a lot of them, are pieces of shit. And I think this is sort of like, there was a lot of really, really positive coverage of this game when it first came out. But there was also a lot of people who played it a little bit and bounced off it because they were like, this is an ugly world full of ugly, cynical people.
Right.
Or this is a cynical game set in an ugly world full of awful people. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that is an opinion you could only have because you didn't play enough of this game.
Also, hey, what world are you living in?
Yeah, exactly,
hey, you writing this? What world are you in right now?
Right. Yeah. It doesn't do the Outer Worlds thing of like pretending that things are so much worse than they are to make a sort of half-baked point.
Yeah.
This is how bad the world is.
Or this kind of like toxic centrism that games like Outer Worlds have, where they will say like, well, this side's really bad, but also siding with these other people, they're not that great, and also it causes problems to side with them, so what can you do?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you can't help anybody because like it's all bad.
Everybody's bad. And this game has some of that too, but it has it in its like you'll meet the union boss. Mm-hmm. That guy is a scumbag. You know, does he do a good job looking out for his union? Sure. Is he a corrupt piece of shit? Yeah, he totally fucking is.
Yeah.
And I think this gets to one of the weaker things about the game is, it doesn't have the sort of toxic centerism in the way a lot of other games do. It is too thoughtful for that and too interested in politics for that, I think. But it does end up like you have to do a little bit of work to find someone that's not a bad guy. Like, you have the, because you've got I want to support the union guy, but he's such a fucking scumbag.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you meet at some point you meet like a fucking old, I guess you don't have to meet this person, but, you meet like more traditional communists. Mm-hmm. And it's like, they're not necessarily seeing the whole picture. You talk to, you meet some fascists. Obviously, they're fascists. They're awful. There's at least 3 fascists in the game, minimum. And then you meet the ultra-liberal, libertarian, sort of like laissez-faire, like discotheque, corporate shill. And like, the game doesn't have any affection for any of these groups because, and it's, you have this meter, like if you go into the pause menu, it'll tell you like in numbers how many times you said something communist, how many times you said something, how many times you said something ultra liberal, how many times you said something fascist, and how many times you said something like the third way people, there's the liberals, I guess, liberals, ultra liberals, and then
well, third way is something else, right?
no, third way is like centrist people.
Isn't third way like
Third way is the name of a centrist think tank.
Oh, what am I thinking of?
Is
third position a different thing?
I think it's ballet.
Who are the people that are like the
you might be talking about like the fucking the Baltic socialists.
I'm talking about real life.
Yeah. Like Yugoslavian socialists, I think might be called third position. Is that
would
possible?
Describe their ideology.
They didn't want to join up with the Soviet Union, but they were anti-capitalists.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's be like, that's what I was saying. It's like, what's the group that's like anti-capitalist fascists?
Oh, no. They're not fascists. They weren't fascists.
Okay.
But I don't know a ton about them. I don't know.
Whatever.
But that's what I think it might be. They're like anti-capitalist, but that didn't join up with the Soviet Union, I think. But I don't actually know what third position is. But the third way is like a real life American centrist think tank.
Gotcha.
Like democratic centrist think tank.
And what sorts of things does this tank think?
They think that cutting Social Security is a good idea.
Yeah.
They think Medicare for All is a bad idea. They think that Obamacare is cool. They don't like the idea of spending less money on pharmaceuticals. They think that war is generally pretty good. It's like, so that's the thing. This is real life stuff. When we talk about, people talk about like centrist.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, they don't sound that.
No, that's the thing.
They don't sound that center.
This is the thing. This is why people say neoliberal, people say centrist. I don't have a problem with those terms. I like to call those people conservative Democrats or conservative liberals.
Sure.
Like, these are like, centrist really just means Republican Democrat.
Yeah.
All they do is Republican shit. Just because they call themselves Democrat is not impressive. Anyway, but back to the game. So yeah, it keeps track of you said this many communist things, you said this many centrist things, you said this many ultra liberal things, you said this many fascist things. But it's like the thing about those is that they're not just ideologies; they are groups. The fascists are a group of people that supported a specific guy. The ultra liberals are a specific group of people that did a thing. They signed the treaty surrendering for the communists. The communists were a party, a political party. It's not just, it doesn't say they have their own Marxist guy. I can't remember his name, but whatever the game's version of Marx was, it's not you said this many Marxist things. You said this many party communist things. And that's sort of where the game starts to differentiate about politics and ideology. The game is anti-partisan in a way. It doesn't like fascists ideologically, but it also doesn't like them politically. Mm-hmm. The game itself is fairly Marxist. It's a fairly communist game.
Are you trying to say that you feel this game is skeptical of the notion of political parties?
Yes, or not just political parties, but partisanship in general. One of the least likable characters in this game was a party Marxist. Whatever, I can't remember the guy's name. Just substitute not the real guy. Marx was the real guy. Substitute the game's version of Marx. But you meet this guy.
Make it go to the app. Oh, I see it up there now.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're welcome. And so
Ty Emery says Mazov.
Mazov, yeah, the Mazovians. Yeah,
Mazovian is the term.
And so that's part of where the cynicism starts to get a little bit much for me, where it's like, okay, the Mazovians as a partisan, as a dogmatic belief system kind of sucked. Mm-hmm. The Union guy, the Union boss, as a group, the Union seems to be helping the people that are part of the Union, but like the Union guy is corrupt. He's not nice. He's a shitbag, being hardcore for this Union sucks. The fascists obviously suck. The libertarians obviously suck. And so it leaves you with sort of who do I stand with?
Right.
That the game doesn't really answer. Although for me, I get a lot of anarchist vibes from the game. I get a lot, and part of that is like the way that its rejection of all these different parties, all these different partisanships, mixes with its compassion and empathy for people in general.
For people in general.
And then also, there's a throwaway line about anarchism that I was like, well, that's nice.
Did you read about these people thanking Marx in their acceptance?
Marx and Engels, that was fun for them.
For Marx.
Yeah, for Marx, yeah.
He liked it. Because at the Game Awards, they thanked Marx, and then it cut to Marx in the audience, and he was like, hey!
Top tip of sunglasses. So, they're Marxists, or at least they like Marx. Like, it's not it is obviously written from a leftist perspective. So it's not hard to, figure out what these guys actually think. But
some people seem to think it's pretty hard. I don't feel like I can really comment on it because I didn't get that far in the game. But
it's so at the end of it, have you met Manana? Great name. His name, he calls himself Call Me Manana, which is I'll get to it later.
Like Manana?
Tomorrow.
Okay, right.
Call me tomorrow.
That's funny.
And I think he explicitly says that, I think you could ask him if he's an anarchist, and I think he says no. But he's sort of anarchisty. In the game, and there's a throwaway line, a positive line about anarchists, which was nice. It takes a lot for Marxists to compliment anarchists sometimes. People that like the Soviet Union are sensitive about anarchists. They like to because they killed a lot of them when the anarchists disagreed with Lenin about some stuff. My history's not super 100% there, but
I need to. If somebody knows a good book about the history of the Soviet Union, let me know. Looking for one.
The guy, the History of Rome podcast guy, is in the middle of a whole season about it.
You don't like this guy?
I heard that he's really good in that season. I heard that he was good.
Okay, all right.
From some communists.
Okay.
Anyway, so I don't know. I get a sort of an anarchisty vibe from it, which is nice, and you have to do a little bit of work to get there. But the game is so obviously compassionate for people,
yeah,
and so obviously critical of the modes of governance that have led to where. And this is an important thing about anarchism for me is it's critical of the modes of government that have gotten us to where we are. Because there's a lot of factors that make a government fall. There have been some, the Soviet Union didn't work out. I think we can all agree to that. Whether for
I don't know. I gotta listen to the podcast.
It's not on the map. But also, so isn't the Paris Commune? So isn't the fucking
the Soviet Union didn't really work out. What do you mean by that? Explain. It's not on the map.
So it's I think the silver lining to the slightly overly cynical nature of it is that it's not shying away from this shit didn't work. We've got to do something different. Mm-hmm. And it's so, especially towards the end, it's so obviously interested in the parts of the world that are joyful, the things about the world that are still good, the people who are still good, and it's even at least pitying some of the people who are terrible.
Right.
The game has nothing. The game has no compassion for a couple of the other fascists you meet. It's just that one guy, the monarchist.
But it also knows that fascists exist.
Yeah.
And not in a way it's you can defeat fascism in a sense, but you can't get rid of people who have bad ideas.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like some video games, it'll be like, I wish I played more Outer Worlds so I could say if Outer Worlds does something like this, but it's like when there's like a bad group of people, it's not like you defeat them and they disappear. You know,
right.
You know what I? Does that make sense? Am I rambling?
You killed the boss, so this faction's gone.
You know, it's like you can't get rid of people that. Where am I going with this? I think I lost myself.
I think I know what you mean.
That will be edited out.
Okay. Can I give people who play this game who haven't finished it, and you included? There's a side quest that I think is easy to drop, and I would like to tell people this side quest, follow it through to the end.
Okay.
The cryptid side quest, follow it through to the end.
Okay.
There's the woman in the wheelchair who you can say, "Do sweeties get money?"
Oh.
Talk to her. You will learn about the cryptids thing. Follow that through to the end. That's a great side quest. I think it pays off in spades.
Cool. Let me try to muster something approaching a final thought for me on this game. Again, didn't play very far into the game, but it just felt like it was something sort of intangible.
Sorry. The centrist group that I couldn't think of, the moralists. That's what they're called.
The moralists.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So, okay. At the risk of sounding very conceited, which to some extent I am, like, I often go around in the world and feel like no one sees the world like I do, or like that, like people don't.
The world doesn't run the way that you see.
No, I mean, like, I just feel like there are like complexities that just most people don't see that I see so plainly, and I feel like this game sees those things in a way that, like, I can't give you like a perfect example of what that is, but it just feels like when I'm like playing this game and like reading the things people are saying and stuff, it just, I don't know, it just feels like that, like, regardless of what the game ultimately thinks about the world within the game or the world that we live in, like, regardless, like I tried to say a moment ago, like, regardless of its stance, I just feel like it is actually, like, it just feels so much more thoughtful, I guess is the word. It feels so much more thoughtful than almost like any game I've ever played, and I only played this game for like 5 hours.
Yeah, I agree. I can't think of a game with a lot of characters and a lot of dialogue where everybody feels really thoughtful.
Yeah.
There's another game on my list that I feel is very thoughtful, but that doesn't have a lot of characters that you're talking to all the time.
Oh, so. We didn't even give any lip service to the thing we mentioned when we were talking about some other game about how, like, this game doesn't have combat. Like, you're just walking around, interacting with objects and talking to people, but there is still, like, you still have HP, and you can still die. But it's just that it's so brilliant. There's just, you know, it'll just be that, like, if you...
Most of the time you hurt yourself.
Yeah, sometimes it'll be like you have to, rather than trying to, like, remember an example from the game, there might just be, like, let's say, like, there's a gap you need to jump across. Like, you're on one roof, but you see something on the roof of the building next to it, and you want to, like, I want to be on that building, but you can't get over there other than jumping across, you know, from roof to roof. And you just select it as an option, like, yes, I'm going to try this, and the game makes a roll, and then you might get hurt.
Yeah.
You know, you might die from that. I played an incredibly physically weak character. What?
Yeah, me too.
What was your setup?
I was 5 or 6 in Psyche. 4 or 5 in mine. It was either It was either 6 and 5 or 5 and 4, and then 2 in like reflex and 1 in body.
That's like exactly.
I had 1.
That's like exactly the character that I also.
So like
picked.
I
real glass cannon.
Yeah, the jump that you're saying, I missed the jump and died. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's really fun because it was probably Judgment. Yeah, that's what it was. We were like, Judgment is so great. Just why does it have to have this combat? Like, get it out of here.
Yeah,
like, it feels
totally.
It feels like it's this dead weight that's like not present in the game. But you still have to like think about the choices. It's not like you can just do whatever you want because you don't have to worry about dying. And I really like the way.
You know what it is? It's werehog stages.
What?
Every game has its own werehog stages.
Get rid of the werehog stages.
Yeah. Judgment, the problem with Judgment is that it's full of werehog stages, and the werehog stages is all the fucking combat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my character was physically weak, but also I had really high like encyclopedia and conceptualization. So it was fun. It felt rewarding that technically I wasn't really doing anything.
Conceptualization is a great one.
It was like wherever my character was going, it would be like they kept encountering things that seemed immediately confusing to them or unknown, and then it just like every time it would be like encyclopedia would just be like bloop, here's what this place is, bloop, here's what this group of people
I
is.
did not have a very high encyclopedia. It was medium because I started off with like 4 points in that. So, but yeah, I didn't have a lot of that stuff.
And what I really like about the way this game does skill checks, it's basically just like it's straight out of D&D or any tabletop RPG. It was like when I played Outer Worlds, I'm in a conversation and it, classic thing that a lot of games do kind of poorly, and Outer Worlds is one of them, where it'll just be like a dialogue option and it's just grayed out because a certain stat isn't high enough. And it'll just be like, hey, this stat, it needs to be higher. And in Outer Worlds, there's like opportunities where you can just be like, okay, I'm going to end this conversation, go grind until the stat is higher and come back. The
other side of that is if it is high enough, you just do it every time.
Yeah, it's like...
Like, you can steal anything in the game, and then someone was like, hey, you stole that. And you're like, no, I didn't, sorry.
Yeah, it just feels like, what's the point of even having this system if it's just like, you need the number to be high enough to pick this dialogue option.
Yeah.
And what Disco Elysium does, like, it almost feels weird to give them credit like this is an innovation, because it sort of is, because like not many games do this, but it's straight out of, like I said, D&D and other tabletop RPGs, where like the way skill checks work in D&D is that you have a base modifier and that, but you still have to roll a die. So like if you have a nature stat, like maybe your nature stat is 5, and you see an animal, and your DM will ask you to make a nature check to see if you identify the animal. So it's basically like you roll a 20-sided die, and then whatever number you roll, you add 5 to it because your nature number is 5, and then your DM will tell you if you rolled high enough or not to reveal that your character knows what that animal is or not. And that's just what Disco Elysium does, but it's so brilliant.
And it's also constantly, because there's the checks, there's the white checks, which you can repeat if you fail them, and there's the red checks, which once you fail them once, they're gone forever. But I'm pretty sure that the game is also like constantly doing that in the background, like to see if someone is chiming in.
Oh, maybe.
I think that's how that works.
Probably. That probably makes sense, because I don't hear from like I don't hear from authority that often.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's really interesting, because that way when you have a dialogue option that'll be like, oh, this dialogue option is, you're going to say something to somebody and it's like a charisma check, and it'll just give you a percentage like, this might work. Let's see, like, you can pick this option, but it has a low percentage of persuading this person into doing what you want them to do. And it does a really neat thing of, instead of the result being instant, like you just click the button and it just says pass or fail, there's like a second and a half of essentially like a roll time where like the dialogue gets wiped off the board and you hear like this mechanical whirring sound effect. It's like Blink. And then you see the result, and it's kind of like a full screen splash. And it just takes this idea that's existed in tabletop RPGs forever and finds a really clever way of implementing it into a video game in a way that feels engaging and satisfying, and I loved it.
Yeah. It's like totally different. Like,
and you literally see
it, and then it immediately says fail or whatever.
You literally see 6-sided dice. Like, you see what your character rolled, which is interesting.
Yeah. And God, what a great game. I had something else that I was going to say about this.
If anyone's going to check out Disco Elysium, you should know, as I did not for the first hour or two that I was playing the game, your character will run if you double click.
Yes, true.
I was just like, does this motherfucker seriously saunter everywhere? What a slow game. How am I going to play this? You got to double click.
I had a funny, there's a funny sort of like semi-fourth wall breaking moment with Kim. You can ask, like, Kim, how come you follow me everywhere? Why don't you lead? And he's like, your precinct is known. Everyone walks so erratically.
That's so
feel
funny.
like
Yeah.
bump into me, and it's like he's like constantly like running from like thing to thing.
Yeah, he was like, it's a scene clearing technique. He says that you walk in a really disorienting way, and we say it's really, people from your precinct, you're really like container oriented. The first thing you do when you walk into a room is open all the containers first. So they're making a comment about how like when you're playing the game, you walk in and just go like, open all the drawers, open all the chests.
Yeah. Maybe if so for anybody who hasn't played the game and is curious, maybe I should read very, very early on. I took a screen cap, like in the first hour, I took a screen cap of some dialogue that I thought was really good and really interesting.
Let's finish up on this. We've been talking about Disco Elysium forever.
There's a lot to say about it.
That's true, but we're not even on my list yet. We've been going for almost 4 hours.
Okay, all right. Here, I'm gonna read. This is from the beginning. So you wake up totally out of your fucking mind. You have no idea what's going on around you, and you very quickly learn about what a hotel room is, and you learn about the money that you owe for staying in the hotel room and not paying for it. And so you owe what is it? 130 Royale. It's their dollars.
Yeah.
You have 40 cents, and you count it out. You count them out and give them to him. That's 10 plus 10 plus 20 equals 40. Now I'm down to 90, right? Guard, the cafeteria manager. No, you see, there's a tinge of sadness in his voice. That's 40 cents. Cents are a form of currency 100 times smaller than Royale. I'm not even going to take this. Come back when you have 130 Royale. But that's horrible. Guard, the cafeteria manager. It is. He stands silently looking at the coppers on the counter. Suggestion, medium success. For a moment, his antipathy is overcome by compassion for the sheer smallness of the money. Conceptualization, medium success. Isn't it evil, the order of magnitude between what is asked of a person and what they have?
Damn.
I just love that. Was like
so good.
There was like a half an hour into this game, and I was like, yeah, this is for me. I just love that. And it's like we're coming off an age of like every fucking Ubisoft game coming out being like a total fucking pro-war right-wing, literally fucking propaganda.
Did you see this?
And them saying like, oh, it's just not political. And then playing Outer Worlds right after that. And it's like we've been living in this fucking dearth for so long. Where people won't acknowledge how the world is in these games.
Yeah.
In this game, it's just such a fucking breath of fresh air.
Totally.
Okay, I'm done with the game.
Okay.
Unless you have one more thing.
Jesse M says it's called the Jam Rock Shuffle. You remember?
Jam Rock Shuffle, yeah. Oh, and everybody, make sure you succeed the role for karaoke.
Oh, okay.
Totally worth it.
And of course, don't forget your necktie.
Don't forget your necktie. Do you want to do last bit? Do you want to shout out some of our favorite skills?
I mean, I don't remember that much more.
Inland Empire, Volition, Empathy, Conceptualization.
What is Inland Empire again?
Inland Empire is like the David Lynch skill. It's like the ghosty one that tells you that, like, I'm getting a bad feeling about this. I think there's ghosts in there. Your Thai talking to you is Inland Empire.
Oh. Huh.
Inland Empire is great. It's under Psyche. It's actually what I picked for my like, you get to pick, like, put one extra point at the very beginning into any skill, and I picked that.
Ty Emery says I totally didn't get the necktie my first playthrough. Well, it's your fault. That's your problem. My heart goes out to the little girl who has to stand outside the bookstore in the cold.
Well, she can get inside.
All right.
You have to succeed, and I was very lucky here. You have to succeed a few pretty tough checks in a row, but
so I have
shivers. Don't underestimate shivers.
I have a pretty good feeling about what I
about what my number 2 is.
I feel like I know what your remaining 2 games are.
Yeah.
I think one of them we can probably come back to on my list just for time.
Okay. So should I do my number 2?
What is your number 2?
Begins with an S.
Okay. Oh, you must be talking about Sakuro Dies Twice.
Yeah, Mr. Sakuro dies twice. So yeah, my next 2 are Sekiro
Andy used
Shadows.
to play games. That might be hard for people to understand when they listen to that podcast. Did you not get that that's what I was talking about? Andy was,
did Andy call it Sakura?
I asked Andy what games he's been playing. He was like, that Sakuro Dies Twice. I played that.
Was he being serious? It's tough to know.
He was being serious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great game. Is that on your list?
No.
I didn't think so.
It's not.
So we can talk about that, and then we can switch to your list?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can say
Okay.
what your game after that is.
Sekiro. Shadows Die Twice. I love this game. It's unbelievable that there's a game. It's unbelievable that there was 2 games that maybe were going to beat this game. One of them did, and one of them didn't. When I played this game in March, something like that. Yeah. Whenever this game came out early, I was like, "That's it. This is my game of the year." Unbelievable that anything gave this a run for its money. I cannot believe how much this game clicked for me. Because
I also can't.
Because I've almost never given a shit about the Soulsborne genre.
Almost never.
I played
so little. I don't even know what the almost is.
Well, I did a stream of for a few hours, like 4 or 5 hours of Dark Souls Prepare to Die edition a couple years ago, and I was like, you know what, this is actually pretty cool.
Okay.
But I never went back to it.
Yeah.
And there is something about Sekiro, and I guess we'll talk about what that something is, that is so good. Unbelievable how much I love this game. It is so good. I have almost nothing bad to say about it at all. Let's start with you. What do you have? What is Sekiro?
Sekiro is, let's call it the 6th in the line of
Demon Souls.
Forgot Demon Souls. 6th in the line of a series of games developed by From Software that have come to be known as Soulsborne games,
and now are called Soulsborne Row.
So it was Soulsborne Row Dies Twice. That's Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3. Now we've got Sekiro Dies Twice.
Yeah.
Sekiro Shadows Die Twice.
What's your favorite of those, by the way?
Dark Souls 1.
Dark Souls 1? What's your second favorite?
Probably Bloodborne.
Okay.
It's probably like Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 2, Demon Souls, Sekiro, and then I only played Dark Souls 3 for an hour.
Really?
Yeah.
That's surprising. You love those games.
Because I never finished 2. So it was I rented 3, and I was like, I'll rent it. I don't really have the money to buy it. And then it didn't, I didn't immediately like it enough to not finish 2 and instead pay $60 I didn't have for 3.
Right, yeah. It's funny that you didn't finish 2 either. I don't know. I just felt like these are some of your favorite games.
Let me add your...
They all came out pretty close together. Maybe that's part of it.
Yeah. It was
It's like 6 games in 10 years.
Dark Souls 2... they're like I was super hyped for Dark Souls 2, and then when it came out, it was kind of like, I hate to say it because it's become such a thing now. Now it's like a big culture war between the Dark Souls 2 defenders and the people that don't like it. But it just did feel like it didn't quite give me what I wanted out of Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 1 for me, what I really loved about it was that it felt like a Metroidvania game. It felt like this synthesis of like Castlevania 1 and Symphony of the Night, where it was like Castlevania 1 was like linear, very deliberately designed action game that was really had very deliberate combat and movement, and it was very skillful. You needed to get very good at handling your character and making your way through these levels. And then Symphony of the Night was this open world Metroidvania thing where you're going all over the place and you have stats and you're leveling up, but it loses that technicality or whatever of its like combat. And then like Dark Souls felt like those two things melted together and then in 3D. And so like that was really compelling to me. And Dark Souls 2, its world is, a lot of people have talked about this, but like the world doesn't have the same sense of space as Dark Souls 1, and in fact, those spaces, it's like, people debate whether or not this is intentional or not, but like the spaces in Dark Souls 2 literally don't work. Like it's like non-Euclidean or whatever.
Okay.
I guess, actually, I know of at least one specific part that I didn't get to in Dark Souls 2 that like, that it basically confirms that, like, yeah, that is intentional.
Okay. That's interesting.
So it's interesting, yeah. Like, it's interesting now that I know that. At the time when I was playing Dark Souls 2, I was just like, this just doesn't feel like...
Right.
Like in Dark Souls 1, there's like a lot of parts where you're in one area of the game and you can see off in the distance, like, oh, shit, that's that place I was just at a little while ago. Yeah.
So I don't really think that we have to go into the... identity.
Sorry, you asked me.
No. That's not what I'm saying. I don't think that, like, now, as a next step, I don't think that we have to go into, like, the identity of a Soulsborne. Like, what are the things that, like, it's been a long time.
Everyone knows. Anyone who cares knows.
There are now, like, handfuls of games outside of From Software that are, like, that are Soulsborne games.
Yeah, there's Soulsborne-likes.
Yeah, there's Soulsborne-likes. Soulsborne road-likes.
And that, unlike some of the other fake terms that I just made, like that's like a real thing. Like there are actual Hollow Knight is a Soulsborne
and unlike a lot of like tertiary genres, I think it actually does a pretty good job of like telling you what like a couple important things about that game when you say Soulsborne like.
It's the same
similar to
same like, way, just like roguelike, where it's like, it's not that the game Rogue defied all genres, but it's such a specific thing that when another game is doing enough that it is sufficiently like Rogue, that it's way easier to just say it's a roguelike than to try to...
And really what it means, like at this point, what roguelike means... Like it's
run
I think
based.
It's what's that?
Run based.
Yeah, run based. Like you go until you die and you start over, and like how much you have to start over is variable from thing to thing. But like in Soulsborne, like it's like you die, you lose all your stuff or your money if you touch it, you get it back.
But that doesn't really happen in this game in Sekiro.
Yeah, it does.
Right? Well, so in Sekiro, you're the wolf.
Yeah.
Talk about this game.
So,
what's this game like? How does it compare to Dark Souls?
So I would say I only played a handful of hours of Dark Souls, but so this is a like a rhythm combat game.
I don't know that I agree with the rhythm thing, but that's fine.
It is. I think it's very rhythmic.
I feel for something to actually be something rhythm, it actually has to have music involved.
I don't know that that's true.
I feel it.
I understand, but I think it's a good way of describing what you do.
I would say elements of the combat. I understand what you mean when you say that the combat is in some ways rhythmic. That's just not what I think of when I think of rhythm game.
Expand your mind.
No.
Yeah.
No thanks.
So, you are like... You are a rogue warrior. Your master is dead. You have a lord who has been kidnapped. I guess that's what makes you're working for your lord, so you're not rogue, but
Feudal Japan.
Sengoku
Jedi.
Yes. Your lord has been kidnapped. And the game is about trying to make sure that he is safe, get him to safety, make the world be a safe place for him.
His young lord boy.
The young lord.
He's a boy, right?
Yeah.
Like a child.
A child, yes. He's like 10 or 8. Okay. Like young. He's young. And so it's a world full of people that are trying to kill you.
And Sakuro, he have a sword.
Yeah.
And he used that sword against his foe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Multiples.
I don't know. It's so the game is hard to talk about because it's like it's really simple. You fight the enemies in it. Like that's what you do. The game is you fight the enemies. But the thing that the game does is that it has a very thoughtfully laid out world and very thoughtfully placed enemies who behave in very thoughtful ways. And the game is about, learning to navigate and learning to react. And it's really the reason that it's hard to put into words is it really is that fucking simple. It really is like you fight the guy.
Well,
or you sneak.
So the thing that separates
partially a stealth game.
The thing that separates Sekiro from like Dark Souls and I think Bloodborne also is that it has
verticality.
The enemies, everyone, you and the enemies all have, instead of endurance meters like in Dark Souls, you have stance meter.
Yeah.
And so that basically means, from what I remember, it's
their
like
ability to block effectively.
Yeah. So like if someone's stance meter is full, you can't hurt them. So
if they block.
If they block, you might.
If you can hit them, if with full stance, if they're not blocking.
Okay.
It's hard to orchestrate that, but you can do it.
And the ways that you deplete their stance are by countering them.
Right.
So they go to attack you, you counter at the correct time.
Or by
which countering is just instead of holding the block button, you push the block button at the right time.
Tap it at the right time. Yeah. Timed block. So you can block, which depletes your stance. You can do a timed block counter, which depletes their stance. You can also play aggressively, and they will lose stance while just blocking you. And then you can also try to ignore the stance meter altogether by dodging and rolling and attacking where they're not blocking. And I don't know, I feel like it's very dance-like. It's a very, wait for your mark, fucking, be restrained, but it's not restrained because it's not like, it doesn't pay off to be restrained,
right?
But it doesn't pay off to be aggressive. What pays off is, knowing when to not attack and knowing when to attack in this weird way.
I feel like being aggressive does pay off.
It does sometimes.
More than it doesn't. I think
with someone you can attack you. I can just wait for 3 counters, right? I can just wait for 3 counters, break your stance, stab you in the gut or something. But sometimes you do want to, instead of waiting for 3 counters, attack, keep them from attacking you because they have a particular weapon where trying to counter it might get you hurt. But the game really is about exploring the map, finding routes, looking at cool stuff. I think the story is really good in the game. And you haven't even you're 1 minute away from the story.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I keep trying to tell you.
Yeah, I don't know. This game just didn't click with me. The combat, the game is I know this is silly to say because it's the 6th game like Dark Souls. This is the 6th Soulsborne-like that they've made, and that's not counting, like King's Field and these games that were like working up to this sort of thing that metastasized with Demon Souls. It's so hard. And like not in a way where like with Dark Souls and Bloodborne, it felt like it's really hard, which means I have to try hard, and then the more I do it, I get better at it, and then I succeed eventually after trying multiple times. Like in Sekiro, it just felt like I keep trying, and I don't get any better, and maybe I even get worse. Just like the...
That's so weird. I didn't have that experience at all.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like how the combat clicked with me. So it felt like not only would I get stuck on a boss, but it was like... It also felt like the checkpoints were maybe further from bosses than they were in like Dark Souls games, but maybe that's just my imagination.
Depends on the boss, I think, but most of them are pretty close.
Yeah, I just like... It's a game that's like all of these games are only about combat, and it was just like I didn't like the combat. Like anytime I had to fight a person, I was just like, fuck, I have to fight a person. And in a game that's only about fighting people, that's basically it.
I wonder why what you're doing so wrong.
I don't know. Like and it's been so many months since I really played it. I seem to recall like never getting a great handle on the parrying, though. Yeah, I don't know how to put it. Like it didn't.
So part of the game
felt so hard.
Part of the game is that you, respawn. You come back to life.
Yeah. Well, this was something that made it feel harder to me. Like in Dark Souls, you level up by spending souls to get new ability points.
Yeah.
And so, most people know you collect souls from the monsters you kill, and then if you get killed, you drop your souls on the ground, and then you have one chance to make your way back to that bloodstain and recover your lost souls. But if you die again before you recover the souls, then those go away, and you drop a new bloodstain with whatever you were holding when you died again.
Yeah.
So that was, in that way, if you die the second time and lose your bloodstain, those souls are just gone. They disappear, they evaporate permanently, they're gone.
And this is slightly different in that when you die, it doesn't drop anything, you just lose half.
In Sekiro.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but the thing about in Dark Souls is that like as long as you're competent enough to consistently get back to your bloodstain, you're not really losing any progress. This destroyed me in Sekiro. That in Sekiro you genuinely make negative progress every time you die in a way that was very disheartening to me. Like you lose experience points when you die, and there's no way to get them back. They just drift out the window and they're gone.
Yeah. Well, part of that is like, I guess like a sort of strategy is like when you're going into an area, just don't have any extra experience points.
Yeah.
Because you don't lose beyond a level you've gained, even if you haven't activated that level.
Yeah.
So if you have 5 levels in the bank, you haven't actually leveled up.
That's true. I forgot about that point. That point is good.
And, I never had so much money anyway. And
never had so much money. He's loaded.
That's not true. Like later in the game, I had plenty of money, but
I was turning your thing around.
Oh.
You said never had so much money. You meant like you never had a lot of money, but it sounded almost like you were saying
I got it. I just ignored it.
You had never had so much before as you do now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Language. It's fun. It can have many meanings.
Malleable.
Wow.
Yeah. Although mal means bad, so battable. Language is battable.
Battable.
So yeah,
fuck this game.
Go to a boss fight, just kill a couple extra guys, level up the thing, and then you don't have to worry about it. But it's also like I never felt like losing the XP was backward progress, because even if it's gone forever, like I killed a couple people and I lost that XP. Like it's a bummer, but it's also like it's not. The game isn't about leveling up.
Yeah.
Like it's not like. Leveling up isn't progress. It does help. Like you get a new skill, and the skills are fun.
Yeah, it's the same way in Dark Souls. Really.
But you lose half the money. But
that's right. What do you spend these points on?
Skills. You get skills. There's just like
Skills.
skill trees. Yeah.
Oh.
Did you never?
I don't remember it.
Never unlock a skill?
I'm sure I did.
Is it possible that you had 7 level up points that you never spent on a skill?
No. I just I played this game when it came out.
Yeah.
And I never touched it again except for 5 minutes a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
And basically what happened was
you tried to beat the ball and then lost?
No, I played it for 5 minutes and was just I'd rather just play Jedi Fallen Order.
Fucking
weird, right?
Yeah, it was super weird. That game blows.
What?
I hated it.
What?
Yeah, I hated it. I hated
almost
everything about it. Yeah.
That was almost my number 10.
That's not very high.
No, it's not. Wait, so it's not on my list, but it...
Well, you know what was happening?
When I get to my number 10, I'll explain more, but it very easily could have... It was essentially my number 10.
Everything that was bad sucked, and everything that was good, I was like, Sekiro did this way better. So,
all right,
nothing positive, no positive feelings about that game at all.
I had
tons of glitches.
To me.
I had tons of stupid shit.
What were you playing on?
How many difficulties were there?
No.
PS4?
No, platform.
PS4.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so weird because I was actually shocked when I heard that so many people were having technical issues.
Tons.
Because I played on PS4 had literally 0 other than just Bloodborne launch level load times.
Well, and then I had a lot of things that I don't think aren't technical issues. I was just the game was made poorly where I'm trying to grab at something and it's not working and I just fall or spending 15 minutes.
No, you have to push the button to grab.
Yeah, and it still doesn't work. Or there's an area where I've got to climb up on top of a thing, but there's only there's ledges everywhere, but there's only one ledge that I'm supposed to be able to climb. Take 15 fucking minutes running around trying to find the one good ledge so I can climb up the one good ledge.
All right, I seriously do not want to drag this podcast out any longer than it has to. I will just say, my piece on Jedi Fallen Order, I don't think it's a phenomenal game. Obviously, I didn't put it on my list.
Yeah.
But...
Well, the story's stupid and the main character sucks.
I don't agree. I really liked it. I think it's the best Star Wars game in years. I think it's the best Star Wars game that is about being a guy what has a lightsaber. Though, I have not played a Jedi Knight or Jedi Outcast. I only played it a little bit. But it's way better than the Force. What I played of the Force Unleashed. I didn't play very much of it because it sucked so bad.
Yeah, sure. I
agree.
And
Jedi Academy blows.
Jedi Academy blows. They have the multiplayer's fun. It's Xbox Live.
Yeah, the multiplayer is fun.
And you can do bot matches so you just play capture the flag all day.
No, bot matches was only in Jedi Outcast.
No.
Yeah.
In Academy too.
No, I remember
Xbox, original Xbox?
Yeah, I remember because I had I bought Jedi Outcast and I was like, cool, bot matches. And then I returned it the next day and got Jedi Academy instead, and then there was no bots, and I was like, fuck this.
If that happened to you, then there were bots and you just missed it. Because I played dozens of hours of bot matches in Academy.
You sure it was on Xbox, not PC?
Yeah, positive.
That's wild. We have to look that up.
I know this because I didn't play Outcast until after I played Academy. I had Academy first.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
Because I feel so certain about my memory.
I used to take my Xbox over to Ben McCarthy's house, and we would play, 2-person capture the flag with 14 bots. Yeah.
Weird.
So, I don't know.
Sekiro.
I agree that Jedi Fallen Order is the best Star Wars game in years. There's just hasn't been any good Star Wars games since KOTOR 2. So it's not a hard record to beat. Although, I like Jedi, I like Dark Forces 2, and I like Outcast, and I like Academy with big asterisks.
Yeah, Jedi Fallen Order is also relevant to Sekiro because it basically has the same stance meter thing. Very, the combat's really similar. I do remember it's so hard to remember my time with Sekiro
fully,
but I never got as good at consistently parrying in Jedi as I did in Sekiro, I think, but it didn't bother me because...
That's the other thing is, like, I kept parrying, and I'm like, what I'm doing should be right, but it's not working. I'm blocking and I'm getting hit. I'm hitting and it's not working. I'm parrying or countering, and the countering should be triggering, and it's not. Like, and I don't care if, like, oh, well, you're doing it, like, this game has counters. This is the counter window. And I'm like, no, what I'm doing is what it should be.
I think I liked the Metroidvania-ish exploration.
I didn't like that you couldn't teleport. I didn't like navigating the world.
Oh, yeah. You can't
There's no fast travel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, then what's the fucking point of the... I didn't think that the enemies were thoughtfully placed. Like, in Sekiro, there's, like, runs you can do to get farm XP. Or, like, to get gold or items or whatever. Like, spawn here, do this loop, like, reset, do this loop, reset. Like, there's nowhere in Fallen Order where it's fun to...
Grind?
Do the combat. There's nowhere where it's like, these enemies are thoughtfully placed in a fun way where I just want to, like, do this fun loop. In Sekiro, I thought that was pretty common. Okay. I have my last game. My last game is Outer Wilds.
No more for Sekiro?
No more for Sekiro. Well, I don't... It's hard.
I mean, you don't have to. I just, like, I don't want to feel like...
I don't want to muddy the waters by pretending that the game is, like... I don't have anything to say about that game except for that I loved it, and the reason I loved it is that the combat is super fun, the enemy placement is really thoughtful, the map is beautiful, the story is interesting, like, and it's just really solid. It's so good. And the combat is, I think, is some of the most fun that I've had doing combat in any game of all time.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this next one must be really good.
By the way, quick addendum, Sekiro is one of only 2 games that I haven't beaten on this list. I'm in the very, very last area. I haven't gotten to the final boss, but I'm like the run up to the final boss. It was one of those games, it happens sometimes, where I liked it so much that I didn't want to beat it straight away, and then put it on the shelf and forgot to finish it. The other game, which I said, Death Stranding. Everything else on this list, I finished.
What's your number 1 game?
Outer Wilds.
Whoa! How did I know?
Because I haven't been able to shut up about it since I played it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the video sync. I just typed it out before Keith said it because I already knew.
Oh, I had already said it.
Oh, whatever.
So do you want to do your list for a little bit?
Yeah, let's take a break.
Okay, take a 5, 10.
Another 5. And we'll come back, because Outer Wilds is also on my list, so we'll get to it.